St. Patty's Day in the desert, and aren't we lucky? Baseball today. The Texas Rangers hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers on TXA 21 this afternoon. Surprise Stadium host today on this St. Patty's Day. Look, the grass is even green for this special holiday. We welcome you to the booth. Hello again, everybody. I'm Dave Raymond with Tom Grieve. Now, the Dodgers, they bring quite a lineup today. We've got Puig, Carl Crawford, Jimmy Rollins and company. But from the Rangers side of it, it's a special day today, our chance to take a look at Yovani Gallardo.
No doubt about it. Yovani Gallardo was a big acquisition in the offseason. The Rangers felt like they needed a veteran starter to solidify the rotation, a guy that you would hope would throw 200 innings. Yovani Gallardo is definitely that kind of pitcher. He became even a bigger acquisition when Yu Darvish was injured and will be out for the whole season. Looking at some of Gallardo's numbers since 2009, he ranks very high in Major League Baseball. In starts, he takes the ball every 5 days. He's been more of a strikeout pitcher in the past than perhaps he is now. Depends more on his sinker to get ground balls, but he was a big addition, a guy you hope will win 14 or 15 games and also throw 200 innings.
Yeah, 5 opening day starts for the Brewers and one of their all-time greats when you go back and look at his numbers up against everybody else in that franchise's history. Today, an opening day feel as he will look at quite a lineup from the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll have that lineup and our first pitch coming up. Well, another picture-perfect day here in the Sonoran Desert as we get ready for baseball. Rangers taking the field this afternoon against the Los Angeles Dodgers on St. Patrick's Day, one of Tom Grieve's favorites, when the Dodgers coming to town with those green lids.
Yeah, I've gotten some feedback that my shirt is actually uglier than their green hat, so that's really saying something because those green hats aren't looking too good.
Well, I like this shirt, Tom. We're in good shape. There, the green hat. So Don Mattingly, manager of the Dodgers, taking a seat, sporting the lid, and let's take a look at his starting lineup. These are not your father's Dodgers. Jimmy Rollins, acquired from the Phillies, leading it off. Then you've got Crawford, Puig, one of the most exciting players in the National League. Grandal, Kendrick, Turner, Van Slyke, Jock Peterson, one of their real top prospects in center field, probably their opening day center fielder, and then backup catcher A.J. Ellis today as their designated hitter.
Yeah, and for the Rangers, Giovanni Gallardo. He's from Fort Worth, as everybody knows, went to Trimble Tech High School, has had an excellent career after 7 years with the Milwaukee Brewers. He's glad to be a part of the Rangers, glad to be home. And if you look at his numbers from last season, he took the ball every time, every 5 days, 32 starts. Had a losing record, but a nice ERA of 3.51. I think what the Rangers will expect from him this year is 32 starts, about 200 innings. Wins are tough to predict. It depends how many runs your team scores, but they look for him to be one of those veteran presence in the rotation who can give you his 7 or 8 innings every time out, throw 200 innings, and be a very dependable guy, and that's what he's been throughout his career.
Take a look at the defense today for the Rangers behind him, and of course the left side of the infield almost always the same with Beltran, Andrus, but you got Lucas and Blanks on the right side, Rua, Martin, Smolinski the outfield, and then everyday catcher Robinson Chirinos behind the plate. You mentioned it earlier though, Tom. Gallardo, it was a big deal to sign him, bring him in, and it's a much bigger deal now with Yu Darvish down with the Tommy John surgery. The first pitch in there for a strike to Jimmy Rollins.
Yeah, at the time, the Rangers looked at their rotation with Darvish, with Derek Holland as the top 2 guys, and felt like a guy like Gallardo, a veteran guy, would be very important to have in the number 3 spot, but now he's in the number 2 spot.
Rollins starts it off with a base hit to center field for the Dodgers. 36-year-old veteran. And will bring up the left-handed hitting Carl Crawford.
Rollins gets a pretty good pitch to hit. Fastball near the middle of the plate. Hit it well, right back through the middle.
True leadoff hitter for the Dodgers and a base-stealing threat. First pitch to Crawford, and he's up there hacking away.
Well, every team, Rangers talk about the health of their ball club being one of the primary things you want to see in spring training. Every team is in that position. You know, the Dodgers hope that Carl Crawford could be healthy all season long. He hasn't been healthy the last couple of years. Spent a lot of time on the disabled list.
1-1 now to the left fielder. Yeah, he's missed. You combine the 2 years, right in the neighborhood of 3 months over a 2-year span. So that's been a bit of an issue. Now they've had an extraordinarily deep outfield in Los Angeles the last couple of years. There's now 2-1. They made some adjustments this offseason, and partly to open up a spot for the young man batting toward the bottom of their order today and who will be in center field, Jock Peterson. And we'll get a look at him in a little bit. But you're right. They need Crawford to be in there every day.
Yeah, there's not many teams that have a guy like Andre Ethier basically as a 4th outfielder making whatever, $12, $13, $14 million a year. If there is a team that would be able to withstand an injury in their outfield, they're definitely one of them.
Rollins going, the pitch outside. Great throw by Chirinos, has him dead to rights.
Now, Rollins would have been safe if the base was 10 feet closer to first base. He put a nice slide on. He was safe. His problem was he didn't get to second base. Well, we saw Robinson throw extremely well last year. That's nothing new. He's really worked on his defense. Quick release, good action with his feet, and a strong, accurate arm. Rollins looking in toward the hitter, maybe hoping that Crawford is going to swing at that pitch. When he took it, I think Rollins knew he was going to be out.
3-1, and Crawford lifts it high into center field. Martin is there and hauls it in. And your point about Chirinos last year, better than 36% of would-be base stealers gunned down. That was the best in the American League, so he had a terrific year defensively last year.
Yeah, it's a nice story, too, because Robinson had been around for quite a while. He'd really never had a chance to contribute on any type of regular basis to a major league team, but he got that opportunity last year and has really learned quickly and projects as the Rangers' starting catcher this year.
Converted second baseman, first 8 years of his pro career spent at second base. Now here's the guy everybody wants to see. It doesn't matter who you're a fan of. Puig, always worth watching. He lifts one into medium deep right field, and that completes the inning. Smolinski puts it away. And a quiet top of the first for the Dodgers. The Rangers coming to bat. Boy, a tidy top of the first for Yovani Gallardo. 9 pitches, 6 of them for strikes, and put the Dodgers away easily. And now the Rangers turn to see what they can do offensively. Jeff Bannister, about midway through his first spring training as a skipper with the Rangers. And today we'll start it off with Leonis Martin and Andrus, Beltre, Blanks, Ludwig, and Rua today getting the start in left field. Chirinos did a nice job there in that first inning behind the plate. Smolinski and Ed Lucas getting the start at second base.
And on the mound for the Dodgers, help me with the pronunciation if I mess it up, Dave, Hyun-Jin Ryu.
Nailed it.
26 starts last year. He did spend some time on the disabled list. He's been in the big leagues for 2 years. There was a free agent signing, international sign, and he's pitched well for the Dodgers. He's won 14 games the last couple of years. Last year he was on the disabled list twice with a shoulder inflammation and hip strain. His ERA has been just a little bit above 3 over those 2 years. He's a kind of an unsung part of the rotation when you talk about Zach Greinke and Kershaw. He kind of fits in behind them, but he's a very good pitcher in his own right.
2 strike pitch. Martin with a little chopper to first. A soft liner, maybe better said, and he's the first out of the inning. So Martin down, the only left-handed hitter in the lineup today. As we take a look at the Dodgers defensively, we mentioned that new outfield, Crawford, it left Puig in right, but Jock Peterson, a guy worth watching in center field. On the infield, Rollins and Hendrick up the middle. Turner and Van Slyke utility men on the corners today. And then Yasmani Grandal, the former Padre, now the catcher for the Dodgers. Well, chopper right over second base by Andrus. And he earns his way on with a base hit.
That's one of the type of base hit we talk about here in Arizona. It's early in the game, the grass is, the infield dirt has been watered, but in front of home plate, it's generally really hard. It bakes, and when you hit a ball into the ground like that, it generally is going to take a big hop. That ball took a hop all the way past second base. It bounced in front of the plate and then took one big hop into center field. So it's again tough for the pitchers, tough for the infielders to make a play on a ball, any kind of ball that's not hit right at you.
And not that anybody's really evaluating Elvis's status for the year. I mean, those would be more difficult to evaluate. Let's say you've got a guy on the bubble, maybe making the roster. How do you consider the quality of that base hit?
Yeah, I think you call that an average base hit.
Yeah.
You know, if a guy hits a hard shot to shortstop in spring training for an out, or a bouncer up the middle for a hit, you probably grade the hard hit ball to shortstop as better than the base hit. In Elvis's case this spring, they just want to see some improvement with his swing. We talked about it in the last game that we did. Hold the bat back a little farther, up a little higher, and hopefully be able to drive the ball into the gaps in right center field and left center field with a little more authority. And I think he's making some pretty good progress in that regard. Not a lot of at-bats, and it's tough to tell by his batting average, but he came into the game hitting .333, and we've seen him have a couple of nice line drives into the outfield. Maybe the type of a line drive and the type of swing we didn't see frequently from him last year.
Beltre with another high chopper over the mound. Rollins gloves, touches the bag, and completes the double play himself. 6 unassisted to 3. And that's it for the Rangers in their half of the first. So a scoreless first frame. We'll go to the second. Scoreless first inning, and good news, live Rangers baseball back in 2015 with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. Stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and a whole lot more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Lots of sunshine today and a lot less wind than we saw on Sunday. Is Yasmani Grandal leading it off for the Dodgers here in the second inning. We had an adventure here on Sunday with the wind and the high sky. We must have seen 4, maybe 5 misplayed fly balls in that game.
Yeah, we saw some that fell in, some that were dropped, and some that were caught that were anything but routine catches battling that sun. As the game went on, after we got to about the 6th or 7th inning, then things settled down. But early in the game, the sun was a huge factor.
Grandal, a switch-hitting catcher, acquired in a trade with the Padres. The Dodgers will have him behind the plate along with A.J. Ellis this year. And a burner to second base, backhanded nicely by Lucas. And there's one away in the second inning. And Lucas, we've seen him playing all over the diamond here in spring training. Well, utility guys, spring training must be their favorite time of year.
Well, it is. It's kind of right in the sweet spot of a utility player. He's going to get a chance to play in a lot of games because the regulars aren't playing 9 innings, and he's going to see a lot of different positions. So you definitely get an opportunity to show what you can do, and Lucas is getting that opportunity. Adam Rosales probably came into spring training as the leading candidate for a utility role. But Lucas is getting a lot of playing time and is someone that could push for that spot in the lineup.
Howie Kendrick fights one off, the count of 1-1. Kendrick, a new Dodger this year. Now, didn't really have to move very far. Acquired in a trade with the Angels. Well, they've got a brand new Keystone combination up the middle. Gallardo runs him inside. It's 2-1.
Yeah, Kendrick was a good acquisition. He's a veteran player. He knows how to play the game. He's just about a .290 career hitter. Guy that uses the whole field, hits the ball really well to right field. Solid defensively. Runs pretty well. He's a guy that I think you would expect to steal 10 to 15 bases. There's his career average, .292. Got a little bit of power, maybe 10 or 12 home runs a season.
3-1. That'll run the count full. So there's Rollins. Comes over in a trade from the Phillies. Kendrick in a trade from the Angels. And here's a team that won 94 games last year and underwent a fairly significant, I don't want to call it a rebuild, just kind of maybe a remake. And this one hit hard to right field and down in front of Smolinski. Boy, lucky to knock that down and prevent extra bases, but Kendrick on with a well-hit single to right.
Yeah, Jake had a choice to make. Wait back and catch it on a hop or go for it. He decided to go for it. Once he dove, I think he realized he wasn't going to catch it. And then his goal became to figure out how to knock the ball down. And you can see that's all he's basically doing there on the hop, is using his glove to block the ball and keep it in front of him so that Kendrick can't go to second base. I think what the Angels have tried to do in the last couple of years is get younger in their starting rotation. And almost all the acquisitions that they've made in the last couple of years have revolved around acquiring young pitchers. Tyler Skaggs, they got a couple of years ago. He's hurt and missed most of the season. But Haney, that they got from the Marlins, projects as a top of the rotation guy. I don't know if he'll make their team or not. But they've got a couple of young pitchers as they try to stay young and continue to perform and win now, but at the same time not get old all at the same time, and develop young players and pitchers for the future. Tropiano, I think, is another starter they got from the Astros. Those two kids are competing for jobs in the rotation.
Big lead for Kendrick, not going, and Justin Turner hits one into left field. That one gets down and will roll to the wall. Kendrick waved around third. He'll score easily on Turner's double, and the Dodgers draw first blood this afternoon.
We don't get a chance to see the National League a lot, broadcasting games in the American League, so you don't know a lot about Justin Turner, but you know one thing, he was a 9-year minor league player, played in the Mets organizations, played in the Orioles organization. He was a 300 hitter. He got to the big leagues last year and over 200 at bats, hit 340. And you probably won't see a higher leg kick than that. That's not an easy thing to time, but it looks like Turner's timing it pretty well. 288 at bats. He hit 340 in those 288 bats last year, so that kid can hit. He's hit everywhere he's ever been.
Well, he fits in nicely for them. He'll be the backup both at short and at second base. They can use him all over the diamond, but that's a nice bat to be able to sneak in there late when you need it.
Also,
Scott Van Slyke takes one in the dirt. It's 1-1. Now he plays the corner outfield positions and a little bit of first base for the Dodgers. Today getting the start at first. Really, the Dodgers brought what would look like a representative, June or July lineup, but for maybe two players. Juan Uribe at third. That one goes foul, and Adrian Gonzalez at first. Otherwise, I mean, you're looking at, by and large, what the Dodgers are going to run out there.
Yeah, Van Slyke's another guy that's not a regular, but he had over 200 at bats last year and hit almost 300. So between Turner and Van Slyke, you've got somewhere around 500 at bats and a batting average of about 325. So they aren't regulars, but they're guys that play a lot more than normal utility players. And the thing that's allowing them to do that is how well they hit. If you can hit, managers will look for ways to get you in the lineup instead of just giving a guy a rest.
Breaking ball. This is outside on Van Slyke. And it's a full count.
It's a lot easier to give a guy like Jimmy Rollins a day off if you've got a kid that can hit 340 and take his place. You got a guy that's hitting 140. The tendency is to say, hey, he's a little bit tired, but I'm leaving Rollins in there.
Gallardo just misses at the bottom of the zone there and walks his first hitter of the afternoon. So Gallardo in the first inning threw 9 pitches. 6 of them were strikes. In the second inning, trying to work around a couple of hits and now a walk. Not quite as sharp. And this is his 3rd outing of the spring. He had 1 A game and pitched in 1 B game the other day and bounced back nicely in the B game on Wednesday. Facing a real lineup today is Jock Peterson. Stands in and rolls one weakly off the handle to second. There's one over to first for the double play to end the inning. And so Gallardo gets that big ground ball to put it in to the top of the second inning. Dodgers lead it 1-0. Well, as is the case during spring training, you wake up any morning, there could be a number of roster moves. And that was the case today for the Rangers. Michael Kirkman released. And we've been talking a lot about the battle in left field. And Michael Choice, who was one of the names in that mix for a while, he's been optioned down to Round Rock with Jared Eichhoff, Luke Jackson. Then you see a handful of fellas assigned to minor league camp as well today. So thinning things out a little bit on the big league side.
Yeah, it's always tough in spring training when a manager has to sit down with players and tell them they're not going to be part of the team. In most of those cases, they were younger players that expected to be in the minor leagues. I'm sure there's some disappointment with Michael not getting an opportunity to make the team, but he knows the job ahead of him. He's got to go to the minor leagues and perform and earn his way back. I think the tough one today for the skipper was probably Michael Kirkman. Michael's been in the organization for 6 or 7 years. He's shown promise at times, has had a terrific arm, just hasn't been able to put it together, whether it's been as a starting pitcher or as a reliever. And so when you have to sit down and tell a younger player that he's not going to be part of the team and he's going to have to find a job in a different organization, those are not fun conversations, but it's part of the job, and it's part of spring training, something that managers and organizations have to go through. So we'll wish Michael the best. He's a good young pitcher, a good kid, and hopefully with another team he'll be able to blossom as a big league pitcher.
Well, Kyle Blanks strikes out to start the bottom of the second inning. Dodgers lead 1-0. As Hyunjin Ryu, boy, he was very effective in the first inning, and good start here to the second for him as well.
Pretty good location with that fastball right on the outside corner. Got it by Kyle.
The South Korean left-hander, Hyunjin Ryu. That's what a 9-pitch first inning. Now he'll deal with Ryan Ludwig, strong right-handed hitter. But normally in spring training, you see a guy with number 99 on his back, Tom, and you feel, well, okay, kid getting a look.
He won't be at spring training long.
No, but Ryu, one of those guys, and we see it more and more. Guys with the more esoteric numbers, I guess. That fielder's another one, right? Where's what, 84? Used to be those numbers, you'd only see them for a couple of weeks out of the year, and typically in Florida or Arizona.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the story is behind number 99. I'm sure there is one. I think in Prince's case, if I remember right, he was born in 1984. I'm not sure if that was the thought behind it. Let me check that out. Don't know what 99 signifies, though, for Ryu.
Count 3-1 now on Ryan Ludwig.
You like him? Yeah.
And he'll keep the at-bat going.
Yeah, Prince was born in 1984. I think that's got something to do with wearing number 84. Sometimes a player that's had a number for a while goes to a team and someone else wears that number, so he has to pick a different number.
Right, or work out one of those deals, right? Give a guy a watch, that kind of thing. But I guess if you start with 84 or 99, then you're likely not to have to deal with that. Well, Ludwig thought he had ball 4, but down looking, the second strikeout of the inning for Ryu.
Well, Ryu threw a nice fastball to blanks on the outside corner. It looks like he locates this one pretty nicely on the inside corner. You see the catcher Grandal set up on the inside part of the plate. And it looked like he had to move his glove and bring that ball back a little bit. Usually that's a telltale sign that it might have been a little bit inside. Well, Ryan felt that way.
And that's frustrating. Now Ryan Rua will get his look at Ryu. And he did not go on the appeal. Rua hit a home run yesterday. Team was in Tempe against the Angels. And it was a swing and a bat that Rua really kind of needed. And a couple of tough games recently, and sometimes you just feel like a guy, starts to work a little bit harder with each successive game when he's in a battle like Rua is right now. And it's 2-1. We had that nice stretch last year with the Rangers. A little bit of time on the disabled list. We'll put together some pretty good numbers in 28 games. Runs the count now to 3-1. Now Ryu to the plate and pumps it right in there. He has been throwing strikes. 8 of his 9 pitches in the first inning strikes. A couple of punch outs to start this second. Ryu wastes little time. This one popped up. That's playable. Puig on the run, and he does get there to make the play. So a 1-2-3 bottom of the second for Hyunjin Ryu. Takes us to the third inning here at Surprise Stadium. 1-0 Dodgers. I mean, it is beautiful here in the desert. A lot of people talk about it's just dirt, it's just rocks. But look at the green on St. Patrick's Day. It's a splendid day. There's a little more green. Did you think about that this morning, Tom, when you got up?
No. Did you see what color my shirt is? No, I didn't. I did not know it was St. Patrick's Day until I got to the ballpark.
Gallardo.
If I'm being honest.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise,
Fair.
I would have broken out a green shirt. I don't have one, but I would have planned for it, and I would have gotten one somewhere.
Giovanni Gallardo's third inning of work.
Green is not one of my primary colors.
Line chopper is short. Over Kyle Blanks, which is saying something. Big 6'6" first baseman. Not going to get to that one, and Ellis aboard via the error.
That's one of those high choppers in Arizona. It takes those big bounces. You have to go in the hole. Elvis gave it a throw. He probably would have been better off not throwing it. Got a break when it bounced back, and Ellis couldn't take second base. But with that second hop, he knows he's got to get rid of it quickly. Just never got a good grip on the ball. Plays the hop okay. Didn't get a good grip. His weight's kind of leaning back toward left field. And the ball just sailed on him.
So Gallardo will have to deal with a runner in this third inning, and the lineup turns over. Jimmy Rollins in there and takes a strike. Rollins singled in the first inning. Then was caught trying to steal second.
You know, Rollins a good veteran acquisition. You know, he's been a terrific player. 14 years with the Phillies. Last 3 years, though, if you total it up, he's been a below 250 hitter. So he's not quite the same offensive player that he was. He still has some power. Still a guy I think the Dodgers project to hit 15 or 16 home runs for him. He had one of the greatest years of players, I won't say ever had, but a shortstop's ever had back in 2007. Hit almost 300. Hit 30 home runs, knocked in 94 runs, and stole 41 bases. Hit 38 doubles as a leadoff hitter. That projects as a kind of season will get you a big contract.
Yeah,
and it did.
Well, he's one of those leadoff guys, as you point out, who has that power, right? And, and that's definitely a real luxury for a manager.
Yeah, he's hit 216 big league home runs, including 30 in that year.
Fans for the first out of the third inning.
A good off-speed pitch right there by Giovanni. He's throwing mostly fastballs today. You know, hitters watch the batters, watch the pitches that the pitcher pitches, so you go into that at bat expecting to see a fastball and really fooled him with what looked like a nice curveball.
So one gone now for Carl Crawford. Crawford spanks this one out to left field, but Rua in position. 2 away.
Crawford had his big year in his last year at Tampa Bay. Hit 19 home runs and knocked in 90 runs and stole 47 bases and got that gigantic $130+ million contract with the Red Sox. And after a couple of years, it was not working very well in Boston. He became about a 250, 260 hitter in Boston. And they bailed on it and got someone to take him with the Dodgers. And Dodgers are hoping to get a little bit of something for their return. But as we mentioned his first time up, he spent a lot of time on the disabled list the last few years. Just hasn't been healthy. That 1 year for Tampa Bay, when he got the big contract, he was one of the best players in the American League.
Hard to believe it. This is his 14th season. It seems like he was just that phenom, you know, but 15 minutes ago, and now here he is in his 14th big league season. As you mentioned, one of the great young players in the American League for a time there, and now we look at one of the great young players in the National League in Yasiel Puig. So he knows firing one down to first, try and catch A.J. Ellis a little too far off the bag.
Yeah, Puig is definitely one of the most physically gifted players in baseball. Things he can do on the field are exceptional. You'll see him in the highlight reel almost on a game-by-game basis with a throw, with a catch, with a home run. His offensive numbers have been solid. He's hit 300.
He does kind of steal the show, though, with the arm in right field. That's where you just...
He shows off things that most players can only dream of, and that arm is one of them. But, he had 14 home runs, or 16 home runs last year, 558 at-bats. So he's still a work in progress.
2 out and a man at first for him. Count now 2-2. We were talking about Jimmy Rollins earlier in the inning and everything that he's accomplished in his career, but word in Dodgers camp is that Rollins has had a real big impact on Puig, and Puig has taken to him quite easily, quite nicely. So he swings and misses and strikes out for the final out of the 3rd inning. So a leadoff error does not rattle Giovanni Gallardo. Sets him down in order after that. And we go to the last of the 3rd inning, 1-0 LA. Dodgers with a 1-0 lead. We go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. Welcome back in Surprise Stadium with Tom Grieve. I'm Dave Raymond, and joining this 3rd inning, my pitching coach Mike Maddox. Mike, so far, what do you make of Gallardo's outing?
Well, I liked his last inning a lot. He kind of slowed himself down there in the 2nd inning. He was getting a little fast, leaving his arm back and missing upstairs with a lot of his fastballs and breaking balls. So we talked about it between innings. Take your time, get on top of the ball so you can drive it downhill. It started off with an error, so we knew right away we had to get 4 outs, and he got him. He left that lead error at first base, so that was a nice inning for him.
Mike, we do our best to give a scouting report for Giovanni. You coached him in Milwaukee, and obviously you know him a lot better than we do. What would be a brief scouting report that Ranger fans would look for this season from him?
Well, I think a very good athlete out there, over-the-top fastball with a lot of downhill angle. Throws a curveball off the same window, so he can work the ball down from 2 different directions, but then he factors in the high fastball, so he works 2 planes as well as having the ball down. Has added a slider cutter to his mix so he can go east and west to complement his north and south arsenal that he has. Also keeps refining his changeup where it becomes a productive pitch for him.
It's a pretty good scouting
report. See, we try
right
to
there.
do that, but it just doesn't sound quite as good as it does when it comes out of your mouth.
Didn't know we were going to talk geometry here.
Hey, there are times when it looks like he falls off a little bit to the first base side, and is that part of him trying to get way up on top of that fastball?
Well, I think when he really flies over to first base is when he's jumping out too quick, arm drags, and when your arm drags, you take the shortcut and you drop your angle and you work more side to side than top to bottom. That's where you see that slide step where he goes out to the side.
Chirinos finds a base hit in the hole, and the Rangers have the lead man on here in the 3rd inning.
Mike, in any spring training, a pitching coach is going to have a lot of pitchers to work with. This seems to be the kind of spring training where more young pitchers have an opportunity to fit into the rotation, maybe make the bullpen, and a lot of evaluating and figuring out how to get these guys innings must be going on. Has that been unusual for you even with all your experience?
Well, it's quite a puzzle, and just a template that we've developed in the past is, if we go on a 6-day rotation as opposed to a 5, we can factor in piggyback, so we got 12 starters that we can stretch out in that under that formula. So we've done that this year. We actually started out with 14 because we had a split game right away, and we've had 2 B games now, and then we have 2 split games coming up this weekend when we go to San Antonio to play the Dodgers there. So those extra games come in handy. It allows you to stretch out 12 guys or 14 guys.
2 of the guys competing are the 2 Knicks, Martinez and Tepesh. How important was what they accomplished last year for them to continue that and make the team this year?
I think it was huge for them because they got to do an apprenticeship at the major league level. And they went to that school of hard knocks. They had to learn from tough times out there. And to their credit, both of them, really, really grinded at the bit, and they showed their grit and character. And by the end of the year, they were productive pitchers. And the one thing they had to teach themselves and learn for themselves is that they could compete in the major league level. And I think that was a huge stepping stone to them having the opportunity to make the ball club this year.
Mike, how much of a challenge is it when, as we talk about trying to evaluate all these guys, you bring in a guy like Ross Ohlendorf, but it's not a big injury, but it's enough to kind of set him back a couple of days with his hamstring. When you have those types of things in spring training, how much of an additional challenge does that present for you guys to try and evaluate them?
It really hurts us on the evaluation process. It really hurts them on the production process. You can't evaluate if you can't pitch, and you can't produce if you can't pitch. But the big thing is to stay in front of those little nicks and bumps and those injuries that we don't want them to blossom or manifest into a larger one where you miss a big amount of time. So we're overly cautious with it. Ohlendorf's case, he said he's had this before, and it's just a matter of a couple days. So we've already pushed him back. I'm going to skip his next start and then see if we can line him back up where he only misses 1 start instead of being too aggressive with it and possibly missing 3 or 4.
He's kind of a compelling story, though. The velocity up quite a bit, and he's got the wacky motion now, that big windup. As a pitching coach, you have to deal with so many varieties. But how do you deal with a guy with that kind of a windup?
It's fun. I look at it and I think I'm watching ESPN Classics, seeing some of the old guys, the big train out there, Dizzy, and, even Steve Carlton had a bigger windup a little bit like that. But Bob Feller, you see these guys that had a lot of motion going on. But after seeing the simpler deliveries, through the years, when I watch him throw his bullpens and I watch him work, it makes me tired. I said, man, it looks like a lot of work out there.
Yeah, you mentioned tired. How does that factor in pitching in a day game in Texas if it's 100 degrees out? That got to take a little bit out of you, doesn't it?
Man, we'd all like to find out, but I always say this: if a guy's in the windup the whole game, everything's going pretty good for him,
There you go.
So I'd like to see that windup out there for 110 times a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Good sacrifice bunt by Ed Lucas. Puts a couple in scoring position now.
Well, when you're a utility guy trying to make the ball club, all the little things matter. And getting that bunt down registers with a big league staff. So, job well done by Ed Lucas.
Talking about Ross Ohlendorf and the windup, and you're seeing a look of his warm-up the other day. I mean, it's more, Mike, it's more than just sort of that old Satchel Paige, jangling around, swinging the arms. I mean, it looks very deliberate the way he throws both arms back. I mean, did you discuss each piece of that windup and what he's trying to accomplish?
Well, you know what? There's a lot of moving parts to it, and he's like a horse coming out of the chute. He's a great big guy, and there's so much motion and so much action that I just sit back and try to watch it and observe, because if I want to go piece by piece, I got to remind myself this guy went to Princeton, and I don't want to get that analytical with him.
Changing the subject just a little bit, Derek Holland obviously had a setback at the beginning of spring training. He pitched the other day. How would you evaluate Derek's outing and where he is right now?
I tell you what, I think it was with Derek, that bump in the road that we had was one that we stayed in front of. We didn't allow ourselves a chance to be too aggressive. We were overly cautious with it. And I think we got it all behind us now. He did throw an inning in a B game the other day. He threw 12 pitches, got out of it.
Martin glances one off first baseman Scott Van Slyke, and the Rangers score 2 runs on the play and take their first lead of the game.
We talk about the hops that a baked infield will give to a pitcher. It doesn't make it easier for the infielders. The ball was a bouncer that we'll take another look at it. Again, hits the plate, takes a tough hop. It's tough to predict how the ball is going to bounce like that. And I think Scott Van Slyke might agree with that. He thought it was going to come up, and it did, but it glanced off his glove and took a nice direction for the Rangers. Allowed 2 runs to score, and Martin hustling all the way, got to second base. So a couple of runs for the Rangers on that error.
2-base error, 1 RBI for Martin. And of course in scoring position for Andrews here. 2-1 Rangers, bottom of the 3rd inning.
That's why we call it a concrete jungle out here.
We were talking about this the other day, Mike. How do you and the staff evaluate pitchers under these conditions? There's not one thing that helps a pitcher pitching in Arizona that I can think of.
And the one thing that we preach is that we're going to evaluate the process, not so much the result, but it's all about the process. Well, we know that out here in Arizona, the ball really flies and jumps, as you just saw right there. Whoever hits the most ground balls is probably going to win.
Well, we say that as an infield hit for Andrews. Puts him on the corners now. I guess it was Sunday where it appeared if you hit it in the air, you were in pretty good hands here, because we saw fly ball after fly ball boxed out there.
I tell you what, you get the wind blowing out, you get the crosswind, you get the high sky and a bright sun. So fly balls are tough, and that sun just bakes out the infields. And like you just saw the last one, that ball bounced about 2 feet in front of the plate. The next hop was on the outfield grass. So, as you're trying to evaluate a pitcher, you would say, yeah, that's a good pitch. You induced your ground ball, but, he got a hit. So the process was right. The result is not what you're looking for.
What are you looking for from your starters, Mike, to be ready for the season at the end of spring training? I know it's more than innings, it's probably pitches, but what do they have to do to be ready for the season?
Well, under the current format that we use, it's 24 innings is what we build them up to, or that's what they get total. And we build up an inning and pitches each time. So by their 5th start out of the 6, it'll be a 6 inning and 95 to 100 pitch outing. And then their final outing will be a 4-inning kind of tune-up, stay where you are, and then kind of slot guys into the rotation. So it's a 6-day rotation. Then we kick it into 5 days. So it's a little process that seems to work. But at the end of the day, it's going to be 24 innings, and they'll be built up to 100 pitches.
And what about your relievers, the short relievers that generally pitch an inning at a time?
It can be as short as 7 innings, which right now Tanner Shepard is on that program because he had a little setback with a sprained ankle. And if you go the full time, you'll get 9 to 12. And for the multi-inning guys, we might get 16 innings. So, the tough part is finding innings when you got 12 starters and all these relievers you're trying to get all these innings for. You do the simple math, it'll tell you if we play 30 games and played 9 every time, 270 innings, and you probably have about 320 scheduled.
Beltre waiting on a 1-2, and that one misses outside. You've got the B games on the side field, sometimes split squads. How do you manage to keep track of all of it?
If you have any hints, I'm looking for them. I keep it all on paper. I mean, you can zoom in on the schedule right there, and it's got all our games and all the guys who are going to pitch, but it's massive. There's a lot that goes on there.
Andrews nearly caught in a rundown, and instead the Dodgers throw it away and allow Martin to come in and score.
Well, Alves was definitely trying to induce a throw to second base. He could have walked into second base, but he stopped. The catcher knows there's a good runner at third. He fakes a throw, checks third, holds the runner back at third base, then threw the ball away and allowed him to score anyway. Elvis just trots back to first. Now here's where you want to steal second base.
You guys wrote
an error on Grandal, and it's a 3-1 Rangers lead. Beltre pops one up short right field, and handled by the second baseman Kendrick for out number 2.
Mike, do you ever, with short relievers who pitch an inning at a time in spring training, do you ever stretch them out and have them throw whatever, 25 pitches or 30 pitches in 2 innings? Is that ever a factor?
Well, right now, this time through the rotation, this time as we go through this next week, I think you'll see guys go out there and throw, finish inning and start the next inning. So we've already began that process of guys going an inning and a third, inning and 2/3. We're going to actually schedule some guys to go 2 innings. And we might even have a game where the relievers pitch 3 innings apiece, 3 relievers at 3 innings apiece. So that's one way to do it, to get them stretched out. Other times we've sent guys to the minor leagues and just have them pitch till they've had enough, and whether it be 3, 4, or 5 innings. And those are guys that kind of know what they need, where they've been. Those are more with your veteran guys. The younger guys, we try to set that format for them and run them out there 2 innings at a pop.
A couple of younger guys that our fans might have read about but don't know, Anthony Renato and Chichi Gonzalez. What have you seen from those 2 guys? Gonzalez is one of our minor league players. Renato came over in a trade.
Well, Anthony Renato, first thing you see with him, he's 6'7". Has a short stroke though for a tall guy, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Big curveball, pretty good fastball.
And this time, Andrews picked off between first and second base. Mike Maddox, thanks for spending that lengthy inning with us.
You bet. My pleasure.
Mike.
We got 3 runs. Let's stay with it.
That's right. That's right. Mike Maddox, pitching coach for the Rangers, gets them on the board with 3 runs. We head to the 4th inning. Rangers lead by 2. Haven't told you yet about the Coca-Cola family packs. They offer some of the best savings this season. In fact, save nearly 50% on 4 tickets, 4 jumbo hot dogs, 4 Coke soft drinks, 2 kids-owned wristbands, and 1 souvenir program. The 2 locations are available. Upper reserved for $69 and lower reserved for $113. Visit TexasRangers.com/specials to purchase. Post for the picture. They did nicely out there. As we begin play here in the 4th inning, Yasmani Grandal leading it off. He lined out in the 2nd inning, 0 for 1. And Gallardo a little high. Interesting talking to Mike Maddox last inning, Tom, and he gave us a great scouting report on Gallardo. And then also, I love those in games where they can tell you mechanically what was going on in the 2nd inning, the adjustment made to the 3rd.
Yeah, we can sit up here and watch the slow motion replay all we want, but we don't see the game the same way that a coach sees it down on the bench. And it's always fun to get a scouting report. They say some of the same things, but they always have insight that goes well beyond ours.
Gallardo a little bit high with the fastball a couple of times this inning, but is ahead 1-2 on Grandal. And Maddox was telling us too in that 2nd inning that was part of the problem in the 2nd. He was living a little bit up in the zone. And that one shot into left field, but Rua is there to make the backhand catch. One away.
You might notice if you're watching the game on television, the patch on the right sleeve of all the Ranger players. White patch, and it says Macco on it. That's in honor of longtime Ranger clubhouse manager Joe Macco, who passed away in the offseason. Joe was a huge part of the Ranger franchise from day one. He was the business manager for the organization when the team first got here back in 1972. He moved down to the home clubhouse and then eventually to the visitors clubhouse. And then later on, for the last 8 or 10 years, he was kind of a goodwill ambassador for the ball club. He spoke at a lot of civic clubs. He went to schools on behalf of the team. He was one of the most beloved and well-known Ranger in the Metroplex over all those years. So we'll miss Joe Macco, and that's a small way of honoring him for the contributions he's made to the organizations for such a long time.
Gallardo's 2-0 to Kendrick, a little bit high again. Kendrick with a single. He scored the Dodgers' run in the second inning, eventually coming around on Justin Turner's double.
The Rangers definitely didn't face a right-hand hitter in the American League last year who hit more line drives to right field than Howie Kendrick. It seemed like every game he lined a shot in the gap, lined one over the right fielder's head, lined a couple right at the right fielder. Not sure what the numbers were against the Rangers for Kendrick last year, but it sure felt like he hit the ball well.
Draws a walk this time, and it'll bring up Justin Turner, who had a real nice at-bat in the second inning.
Well, Kendrick's a guy that was a .360 hitter in the minor leagues. He won a couple of batting championships in the minor leagues, and I think everybody thought that when he got to the big leagues he'd win a batting championship. He hasn't done that, but he's been a solid hitter.
Fastball in on Turner. They'll appeal that check swing, but he didn't go around. Well, you know, it's funny you should mention, hey, there are the numbers against the Rangers last year.
No, it was good. 333.
Yeah, those are good numbers.
Yep. It's one thing good about broadcasting for the Rangers. You say something, and if you say it, Dave Burchett will generally get a picture of it for the viewers. And if it needs a graphic, Eric Josephson will pop that graphic up there. It's like magic. You don't even have to ask him for it. Just talk about it, and there it is. And today it's even harder because Dave Burchett, our regular director, is not here today. So in addition to Eric Josephson doing his job with the graphics and all that he does, the fabulous Kurt Dykert is the director and the producer today. So it's even more amazing what we're accomplishing today.
Two hats. Runner going, and Turner fights that one off.
We're basically doing with Eric Josephson and Kurt Dykert what we normally do with four guys. Add Dave Burchett, Kelly Donaldson to the mix. That's our regular season team.
We've got to stretch these guys out early in the season.
Well, yeah,
spring training, get them some reps.
Spring training. Mike Maddox is working extra duty down there. Rangers are playing extra games. The guys in the truck are working a little harder today than normal, too.
See those numbers right there for Justin Turner last year. Really impressive numbers. Right-handed hitter, and he swings and misses it. Another good curveball from Gallardo. There was a day when Gallardo got a lot of strikeouts on his fastball, and it was an impressive one. When he came up with the Brewers, was a flamethrower, and has turned out more to finesse.
Boy, that guy takes a hack. He's got a lot of moving parts, boy. A huge leg kick, a huge swing. And I think generally, if all you saw from him was that swing, you go, whoa, this guy's going to have a hard time hitting in the big leagues with all those moving parts. And then you look at the numbers and you say, whatever he's doing, it's working.
Another attempted snap throw down the first base, but Kendrick able to get back in there. Chirino showing off that arm today. Yeah, well, consider that's his two-strike approach. Justin Turner right there. I mean, that's his.
I don't know if he has. I think for a lot of hitters, their two-strike approach is the same approach they would have on a 3-1 pitch.
Yep.
almost no such thing anymore as a two-strike approach. And Slight takes one off the plate, 2-0.
But there's not a lot of guys after 288 at bats that are hitting 340. And you have to respect that. Talked about Van Slyke, over 200 at bats. He hit 297 on base percentage, 386. Some good things for the Dodgers too.
That one shot down to the corner and just does slice away foul.
There's going to be some trouble down there for Smolinski.
Instead, a long strike. You know, the other thing, you talked about Turner's big numbers and Van Slyke hitting nearly 300 in his at-bats. When you're coming off the bench, you know, oftentimes late innings against, you know, those nasty relievers we were talking about the other day, or even just making occasional spot starts, yeah, I would think there's a greater challenge. You know, when you're not seeing live pitching every day. Bounced to the hole on the left side of the infield. And that one through for Van Slyke.
Yeah, I think that's true, especially for younger players. And it's definitely hard if you're not getting any starts. If you're just coming in to pinch it, a lot of pinch hitting goes on in the National League, obviously, because the pitcher bats. Another guy with a high leg kick. But I think almost any player would tell you that it is harder if you're not playing every day to have your timing. But I think one thing Don Mattingly did with both of those guys is he got them enough playing time where it wasn't regular playing time, but it's more than just a pinch hitter and a guy that comes into a game for a defensive replacement. When you get over 200 at bats, and in the case of Turner, almost 300 at bats.
Very close. Van Slyke just got back in there ahead of the throw. Not to interrupt you, but Kendrick rather just getting back in there ahead of the throw.
So you've got a better chance when you get that many at bats, but still it's a credit to both players that they performed the way they did in the roles that they had. There's a good shot of the excellent call by the second base umpire. Kendrick was safe, snuck in right underneath the tag. Another strong throw from Robinson. Pretty much what we expect every time he grips the ball and lets it go.
Kendrick chuckling about it out there at second base, but there was a moment there where that wasn't too funny to him. And Andrews. Again, those numbers right there, that led the American League last year. A little better than 36% caught stealing. Guy who converted from second base, 8 years in the minor leagues as a second baseman, turned into a catcher and has taken to it quite nicely. Had those 13 home runs last year for him, and that's a pretty good season. As Peterson fights one off foul. And one of the fun parts of spring training is the chance to get a look at some prospects, and Jock Peterson is a young man that the Dodgers think very highly of, and in fact will likely break camp as their starting center fielder. You can track him down in the outfield. Show excellent base running and base stealing ability in the minor leagues. A little better than a 300 hitter in the minor leagues. Oh, that one is short, and Andrews right there to haul it in and end the inning. So the Dodgers leave two in their half of the fourth. Gallardo working around a lot of trouble this afternoon, but he and the Rangers lead it 3-1. Here come the Rangers now, bottom of the fourth inning, working with the 3-1 lead on this sunny Tuesday afternoon in the Valley of the Sun. St. Paddy's Day. And a lot of the fans aware of that today, sporting the green.
That's a big piece of pizza that little girl's got. That looks like a double piece.
Man, she might be working on that in the 7th inning. Not a girl. That's a good day at the ballpark right there.
Yep, usually it's cotton candy we show. Today it's pizza. I like it when the kids pick the pizza up and tip it upside down. Sunscreen in order right there. Be careful. That sun will turn you as red as a lobster, and looks like it's about halfway there right there.
It's early. Oh, there you go. That's the idea. Little shade. My mom had a word for guys like that. Showed up in the sun like that. Fresh meat. That's not going to end well for that gentleman. Meanwhile, a 3-1 Rangers lead as we play in the bottom of the fourth inning. Kyle Blanks leading it off. Juan Nicasio on to pitch now for the Dodgers. Hard throwing righty leaves it upstairs for ball one. Blanks struck out swinging in the fourth inning. And it's now 1-1.
Pop that one in there at 95 miles an hour. Big right-hander. Pitched with Colorado last year. He was a starter 14 times, a reliever 19 times. Had a good record, little high ERA.
And just off the outside corner, 2-1.
Velocity's nice. I'd love to have it. If I was a pitcher, I would hope that I could throw 95 miles an hour, but more than velocity, it's can you get the hitters out?
Finds the strike zone that time. 96 miles per hour with that fastball. See, Blanks, big, strong kid, but does not hit the kind of power you might expect. Does hit for a good average. Stays alive at 2-2. Of course, some of his time down in San Diego, that is not a real power hitter friendly ballpark. Just hasn't been. Recent years they've tried to move in the fences down there at Petco to help some of those numbers a little bit. And this one rolled up the middle. Rollins kicks it into right field. Blanks is on to start the bottom of the fourth inning.
Yeah, not a hard hit ball. He got it in on his fist. That's, I think, going to be an infield hit.
Come on, buddy.
Dodgers having a hard time picking the ball up today in this game.
Broke the bat.
Might have had a play. He's trying to catch it and then spin around all the way and throw it. Hits in his glove. Just wasn't able to hang on to it.
So Blanks aboard to start the bottom of the fourth. It scored an infield hit. And now Ryan Ludwig. Ludwig also struck out in the second. He went down looking. Ryu got him on an inside fastball in that at bat. Ryu done after 3 innings. Gave up 3 runs on 3 hits. Walked 1, struck out 2. And Hyunjin Ryu, 46 pitches in his outing today. A little bit inside, and it is 2-0. Casio going to the off-speed stuff there. Now, he was a starter with Colorado when he came up and pitched 3 years in their rotation. Last year, the Rockies, about midway through the year, tried to turn him into a reliever with mixed results. Ryu done with his start and out to the bullpen to get a little extra work in, right, Tom? I mean,
yeah, it may be a case where he had a few more pitches left, but the Dodgers had some pitchers they wanted to see today, so they pretty much know what they've got with Ryu. And maybe they took an inning away from him, and he's going to go get it out in the bullpen.
Strike called to Ludwig. The automatic strike at 3-0. Well, Ryu's numbers should improve out of the bullpen, and his defense can't hurt him out there. His defense hurt him a little bit in the third inning. I'm guessing that'll be a 1-2-3 inning out there in that bullpen. 3-1 to Ludwig, and that one flared into right field. Blanks had to hold about halfway just to make sure that that one got down. Back-to-back singles to start the fourth for the Rangers.
Well, the Rangers are getting a lot of base runners in the last couple of innings. 3 infield hits and what looked like a soft broken bat line drive right there. Rangers last inning had a couple of errors, 2 infield hits and a walk, and ended up with 3 runs. Well, they start this inning with a dribbler up the middle off the handle, and Ryan muscles that ball into right field off the handle. 2 men on, nobody out.
If you're Nicasio, you feel like you keep missing the barrel, and you're not getting the results to show for it.
No, he's made some good pitches. Balls have not been hit that hard.
Here's Ryan Rua. And he'll watch strike 1 from Nicasio.
Ryan looks like he's added some off-season muscle through the shoulders. Right across the Texas letters there. He's a solid kid last year. Looks like he might even be a little bit stronger this year.
Tapper back to the mound. Nicasio to second for 1, and the relay in time. 1-4-3, the double play. Blanks at third base now, but it takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails in this fourth inning for the Rangers.
The Dodgers tried to throw that one away. Pretty much a tailor-made double play. Takes a nice play at first base by Van Slyke to keep his foot on the bag and end that play successfully.
Now the infield can relax a little bit as Robinson Chirinos fouls off strike 1. Chirinos with an infield hit in the third inning and scored the Rangers' first run of the day. We're talking about his numbers last season. I mean, 13 home runs, 40 RBIs from behind the plate. Obviously the average not that high, but from a catcher position, if you got a guy who can be as good defensively behind the plate as Chirinos was, you don't worry about that average too much, especially when he does make contact. He can threaten at the very least to hit it out, and did get it out Baker's dozen times last year. Nicasio shows him that 96-mile-per-hour fastball again upstairs. Big guy, Nicasio. 6'4", 250 pounds. So just 28 years old. We'll see how he ends up fitting into the Dodgers' plans this year. Chirinos puts it on one hop to second. Hendrick right there, throws him out to end the inning. Couple of leadoff singles, but the Rangers leave a man at third. We go to the fifth inning today here in the sunshine of Arizona. The Rangers leading the Dodgers 3-1. Texas Rangers baseball on TXA 21 is sponsored by Sports City Toyota. Serve the city and save at sportscitytoyota.com. There's some of those cacti. Beautiful scenery down here in Arizona. This is Surprise Stadium. Billy Parker Field at Surprise Stadium, home of the Texas Rangers and the Kansas City Royals. Shared facility, as is often the case down here in Arizona. Unlike Florida, where most teams have their own facility. Today, a St. Patty's Day crowd take it in, the Dodgers and the Rangers. Of course, these two teams will get together again this weekend in San Antonio. Fifth inning. And Joe Beimel has come on to pitch for the Rangers.
Last season with Seattle, Joe Beimel had a nice record. 56 games, a winning record, a nice ERA. You see 56 games and 45 innings. That's a pretty good indication that he was a lefty specialist. Faced left-handers in many of his appearances, sometimes one, sometimes a couple of them. But on a good staff, it can be very important to have one of those specialists to come in and get a key left-hand hitter.
Which comes in here to start off with the right-handed hitting A.J. Ellis. Beimel's two-strike offering just missed inside. He's had a little trouble with the right-handers so far here in camp. A couple of home runs to right-handed hitters in his first two outings. Was signed on March 6th by the Rangers, so just brought into camp. A.J. Ellis, backup catcher for the Dodgers, although personal caddy for Clayton Kershaw. And he swings and misses. And strikeout, starts the fifth inning. That's job security, right? When Clayton Kershaw wants you to be the catcher, you're going to be around for a while.
I would think it's pretty good job security. You're going to win a lot of games as a catcher, too.
Yeah.
Your catcher's ERA is going to be pretty strong.
It's funny you say that because I was looking through his bio in their media guide, and that's one of the things they highlighted. Look at his catcher's ERA. I mean, he's like one of the best in the National League. I'm like, well, yeah, he catches Clayton Kershaw. That's his job. It better be pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm sure A.J. would want to get as much time as he can catching. Any player would, but to be out there every time Clayton Kershaw is going to be on the mound is pretty exciting.
He really credits Brad Ausmus as the guy who helped him figure it out behind the plate. Jimmy Rollins smashes one down the third baseline, and that's a fair ball deep into that left field corner. Rollins cruises to second, takes a wide turn, but will hold there with a one-out double. And now he'll come off in favor of a pinch runner. So that'll be the day for Jimmy Rollins. Alex Guerrero will take over for him. So Guerrero out there now in scoring position, and Carl Crawford, 0 for 2 today, steps in. Now, at long last, a left-hander for Joe Beimel to deal with. This is where, we were talking to Mike Maddox a little bit earlier. How do you evaluate? What do you evaluate with certain guys? And in the case of Beimel, you talked about him being a left-handed specialist last year with Seattle. Well, this is the at-bat that matters in this outing. And he got the line drive to Andrus, but he couldn't hold on to it. error. The Rangers shortstop. So now there are 2 men on for Yasiel Puig.
I'm not sure what happened to Elvis on this one. Just didn't catch it. Maybe he's breaking in a new glove.
Cut him on the outer edge of the hand. So now a quite little test here for Beimel. Right-handers have touched him up a little bit in this camp, but the 37-year-old lefty will square off against Yasiel Puig. 2 men out there. It just misses low. Puig, a Cuban defector who has been an instant sensation in Los Angeles. And smacks one right through the middle into center field for a base hit. Around third base is Guerrero. He's played it easily on Puig's RBI single. It makes it a 1-run game.
In the last game we did, Leonis had an errant throw on a play that he really didn't have an opportunity on. And that time normally I think he would wind up and fire that ball. This time he said to himself, okay, I'm away from that last one. I don't have a real good shot at the plate. I'll hang on to it. Keep the runners at first and second. Maybe we can get a double play.
Puig done as Buck Britton takes over for him at first base. So the Dodgers brought quite the lineup with them today to surprise. But the majority of them making their way to the clubhouse at this point of the day. As Monty Grandal stands in, there's Don Mattingly off a 94-win season last year. Only to watch their division rival, longtime rival Giants go on for the wild card and win the World Series again. Beimel to Grandal, and that one lined into left field for a base hit. Picked up by Rua. Fire it back into the infield, but Crawford crosses the plate for the Dodgers, and this game tied at 3.
A well hit ball right there by Grandal. Fastball inside part of the plate. Laces it into left field.
Not much of a mystery up there this inning for these Dodgers hitters. They're up there swinging, making some pretty good contact, and that'll bring up another right-handed hitter in Howie Kendrick.
One of those innings where you're giving them an extra out. The ball that Elvis was unable to catch, the line drive by Crawford. He hit it pretty well. In fact, he hit it pretty hard. Bounced off Elvis's glove. Probably couldn't have doubled off the runner at second base. Definitely would have had at least one out, though.
Well, this morning, that man, Jeff Bannister, talking to the media, talking about his focus in this camp. This is ball sharply but foul along the third baseline. And like a lot of managers said, you know, defense, pitching and defense. That's how I'd like to see this team compete. It's very important that they make the plays. And as you point out, that play on the Crawford line drive not made, and creates a much more difficult situation for Joe Beimel. One out in the inning. It's 0-2 to Kendrick. They'll stay alive. Kendrick singled and scored the first run of the game for the Dodgers in the second inning. Walked in the fourth. Bimel's 0-2. Pretty good contact. Heading back, Martin, and that one way gone. A 3-run homer by Howie Kendrick.
The wind is blowing out, and so the ball's going to carry, but there is no doubt about that ball. That ball almost went over the berm in center field, hit right off the top of the berm out there. You're measuring that one. That would have come down about 480 feet away, it looked like.
Well, that'll accent a pretty good day for Howie Kendrick. A 3-run homer makes it a 5-run inning for Los Angeles.
That's that perfect contact. After that ball did hit over the berm.
Wow. And that guy into the bushes.
That's a long one.
Tapper back to the mound, off Bimel's glove. And Justin Turner will be safe. Infield hit for Turner.
Oh, Joe.
This man leaves his camera. Shame on you. Into the bushes.
Field of dreams. Need any help in there? I haven't seen him come out there yet. Went in the bushes and never came back.
He's still looking. Scott Van Slyke, the 8th batter of the inning for the Dodgers. And they have taken a 6-3 lead here.
Well, there's one out. A.J. Ellis struck out to start the inning. Haven't been an out since then, though. Right-hand hitters are doing some damage.
Again, tough for Bimel, given what one would believe his role to be with the team this year. He faced left-handed hitters, and he only had a chance to face one in the inning. That resulted in the errors. A ball in the dirt makes the count 2-0. Turner has left the game, and Kike Hernandez pinch running for him at first base. And it's 3-0. Hernandez with the lead. Blank's holding him. Another chopper foul by Van Slyke now. It's 3-1. Bimal fairly deliberate. I think it's a swing and a miss. It's a full count now. Well, Rangers going to have, a number of things to figure out this spring. One is the left field position. There's still question marks in the rotation and the bullpen. And one of the questions in the bullpen is with regard to left-hander who might be a specialist, or a left-hander maybe who could even face multiple hitters. Bimal walks Van Slyke this morning. And we put the information up a little earlier in the broadcast. Rangers made a handful of player moves. affecting 7 players. One of them, Michael Kirkman, the left-hander, organizational guy, been around for a while. He was released. That certainly dwindled the options among left-handers, and Beimel today just has not taken that opportunity and been able to do much with it. As he now leaves the game.
In the absence of a lefty in the bullpen, you look for right-handers who can get left-hand hitters out. Sean Tomlinson did a great job of that last year. So, you know, if you have right-handers in the bullpen who have the type of repertoire that can get left-hand hitters out, no problem.
Well, new pitcher coming on for the Rangers. And there's a gentleman with his home run ball, we think. It's a 6-3 Dodgers lead here in the 5th. Derek Holland just relaxing and enjoying himself today, although the Dodgers currently with the 6-3 lead over the Rangers. So we welcome you back here with the 5th inning. And again, the Rangers have had to go to the bullpen for the 2nd time in today's game. Ross Wolf delivers just off the plate, and it's 1-1 to Jock Peterson. And now there was one of the stories at the end of last season, Tom. You know, just getting Holland back and what he was able to do. Certainly, you know, a glimmer of hope going into this year. Yeah, there weren't a lot of bright spots last year, but that was definitely one of them. Those were some exceptional numbers that Derek had, mostly in September. Elvis makes a catch on a pop-up. Look at his walks. He only had 5 walks in all those innings to 25 strikeouts. Didn't allow a home run at any point in time. That was Derek at the top of his game. And you know, Derek has said many times this spring that he's done some good things as a big league pitcher, but he has not yet become the kind of pitcher that he wants to be or that he thinks he can be. I think what he'd like to do is spread that kind of a season that he had in the last month and a half of last year over a whole season. That's what he thinks he's capable of doing, and based on the way he threw, there's no reason why he can't be that kind of pitcher. Now ball foul by A.J. Ellis, and there's the right-hander, Ross Wolf. And with the Rangers last year, Ross had an opportunity to throw 47 2/3 innings. At times, had some good outings for the Rangers. A swing and a miss by Ellis to take the count to 0-2. Wolf did a little winter ball in South Korea. Now, I say that as if anybody would be pitching in North Korea, but
Dennis Rodman played basketball in North Korea.
There you go.
Ross Wolf might play baseball over there. Who knows?
Inside to Ellis 1 and 2. But when I think of winter ball, I think of Venezuela. I think of the Dominican, Puerto Rico. I don't think of South Korea. You're a big winter ball guy.
I went to Venezuela 5 times, but I wasn't thinking about South Korea. You're right. That didn't occur to me either.
Ball rope down the left field line, but foul by Ellis. You don't hear that one too much.
Yeah, most players choose not to go to winter ball nowadays. They make so much money. Even the minimum salary being over $500,000, there's no need to have an off-season job to make money. And most guys feel that they need the rest after a long season.
Well, did you play?
In the old days, we played because we needed the money.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
When the season ended and you were hoping to break even at the end of the big league season, you had to go over there to continue to get paid in the offseason. It's either that or go home and find a job. Now, the side benefit and also a factor was you wanted to go over there and improve your game, too. So the competition over there was always excellent. I don't think it's as good now. Back then, all the Latin stars went to winter ball and played pretty much on a regular basis.
Ellis puts a charge on that one off the fence in center field. And all the way around to score is Hernandez. Jensen behind him. 2 runs in on the Ellis double.
On our team in Caracas, playing every day, we had Vic Davalillo, Cesar Tovar, Manny Trio, Baudilio Diaz, and Tony Armas. And I think every one of those guys at one point in time made a Major League All-Star team. And it wasn't the case where they'd go home and then come back and play 15 or 20 games. They played the whole season, and they played every day. And then they came to the States and did the same thing. A little bit different outlook as far as how winter ball was looked at back then as opposed to now.
Yeah, I always think of it now as a developmental thing. Right? Guys just need at bats, need some innings.
Yeah, young players want to improve. Guy learning a new position. Guys were hurt, need to get at bats or innings. But even now, occasionally a star player will go back and play winter ball. But Elvis didn't play winter ball this year.
Alex Guerrero came in to pitch and run this inning. Now with an at bat and rolls out to Andrews at short to win the inning. But a big inning it was for the Dodgers. They pick up 7 runs in the top of the 5th and now lead comfortably here at Surprise Stadium. Not exactly the dog days yet. Maybe the dog days of spring as we get about to the midway point of spring training. It's a ball game the Rangers were rather enjoying early on, but a 7-run top of the 5th inning has changed the dynamics here dramatically. And out of the bottom of the 5th we go. New pitcher on for the Dodgers, J.P. Howell.
Yeah, a veteran left-hander. 68 games. He's always been a guy that could throw a lot of games. Nice season last year, too, at 2.39 ERA. Another guy, 68 games, only 49 innings. More of a specialist. Must have been tough on left-hand hitters. His opponent's batting average is only 183.
Smolinski leading things off for this 5th inning. Just his second plate appearance of the day. He walked in the 3rd inning, but you can see last year put some pretty good numbers in 24 games. Now pops him it for strike 1. Two and one the count on Smolinski. The 8th place hitter, Ed Lucas, will be due up 9th. And a swing and a miss evens the count now at 2-2. Number of defensive changes this inning for the Dodgers. It's now Heisey in left, Carson in center, Britton in right, Hernandez and Guerrero on the left side of the infield, Darwin Barney at second, Jensen at first, Grandal still catching, as you could easily see from our video of the field. Of course, I give you those changes really on good faith because it is hard to keep up with all the maneuvering between innings, but the Dodgers just did a line change. 3-2, and Smolinski will rip Satlin into left field, base hit. Another real good at bat for Jake Smolinski.
He definitely grinds out good at bats, boy. You have to be impressed. He's walked and scored a run. Hard base hit to left field now. Talked about him the other day when we did the ball game, how well he played until he got hurt last year. But he has a nice compact swing and tends to make solid contact.
Well, Jeff Bannister keeps using this phrase, talking about guys that they can dig it out of the dirt. And he says that about Smolinski a lot. He's a guy who'll dig it out of the dirt. And when asked what that meant the other day on one of his little pressers, he went on quite a long explanation, basically say, the guy's a dirtbag, right? I mean, he'll do whatever it takes. He'll make the diving play, he'll fight off those tough pitches, give himself up for the betterment of the team, that kind of thing. And Smolinski, he is a battler. There's a guy who had to dig it out of the dirt. This was on Sunday. Smolinski to end an inning. Real nice defensive play on a day in which we saw at least 4 outfielders just ducking for cover on routine fly balls. So he's done it defensively and offensively so far in this camp and puts himself in a very nice position to help the ball club very potentially is that starting left fielder. Oh, high to Lucas, and it's 3-1. Had Lucas a little time in the big leagues the last 2 years with the Miami Marlins. Was a waiver claim in October by the Rangers. And a former Player of the Year in the Ivy League with Dartmouth, and he takes ball 4. I think if nothing else, this big league camp would score very well on the SATs. Ohlendorf and Lucas, plenty of Ivy League representation.
Yeah, they might be a pretty good basketball team in the offseason too.
Speaking of which, you filled out your brackets yet?
No, I'm not into it this year.
Really?
No, I didn't feel like I knew anything about it this year. Didn't follow it. Which doesn't mean you can't fill out a bracket, because much chance as anybody.
Beautiful bunt by Leonys Martin. And that's a base hit. They're loaded for the Rangers in the 5th. Martin, who led the league with 17 bunt singles last year, 32 infield hits, and that's one of the reasons why Jeff Bannister really likes him in that leadoff spot.
That's definitely he's a force when he bunts, because he doesn't have to get down a perfect bunt. He just has to get down a decent bunt, and very seldom, if it's a decent bunt, does he get thrown out. It's probably a little bit better than a decent bunt, kind of in no man's land out there.
And all the talking we've done about the field conditions here makes it that much more impressive to be able to do that. That one cued right down the first baseline by Andrus. Gets 2 runs home and gets the Rangers right back in it. Andrus 3 for 3 this afternoon.
Well, it was not a hard hit ball, but it definitely found a hole. If you're going to hit a little cue shot right off the end of the bat for a base hit, why not get it with the bases loaded? You might as well not only get yourself a double, but pick up a couple of runs batted in and go along with it.
Didn't waste any time either up there. First pitch swinging. Elliot Johnson replaces him at second base. Good 3 for 3 afternoon for Elvis Andrus. Now Beltre, of course, this is the team that gave him his start in professional baseball. Adrian Beltre signed as a free agent as a 15-year-old, it turns out. Dodgers ultimately had to pay some fines for that maneuver. Beltre made his big league debut with the Dodgers. Now in his 5th year with the Rangers, and has become one of the most productive, well-rounded players in the American League in the last 4 years. He's ahead here 3-0.
If he can play 2 or 3 more years and stay healthy, he's got a great shot at 3,000 hits, which would make him an absolute shoo-in for the Hall of Fame if he's not already.
And he'll walk to reload the bases here in the 5th inning. And you see player of the year each of the last 3 seasons. Last year, 4th in the American League with that .324 batting average. And his numbers among the all-time greats at third base stand up as well as anybody's. I mean, he's in the top 3 or 4 in just about all offensive categories. Like you say, with a couple more years, he may go down as one of the all-time greats at third, as he gives way to Joey Gallo as a pinch runner now. Some handshakes, and we'll be moving on to the clubhouse.
It's like former Ranger Rick Honeycutt making a trip out to the mound. Don Mattingly's pitching coach. I think that's Rick anyway. Yep, it is. Well, you can tell by the way he looks. Also, you can tell by the way he wears his hat. Always pulled that hat down over his eyes like that.
He's got some guys to work with in LA. A nice run there. He and Mattingly, and mentioned 94 wins last year. Dodgers 92 wins the year before that. Of course, now this extraordinary payroll that they have to work with in Los Angeles. And it gives those guys a lot of clay on the table. You can start molding things and building it and all sorts of different directions, and they've had plenty of success in LA, but nonetheless seem to be in the shadow of the San Francisco Giants in recent years out west. As Howell misses low for ball 1 to Kyle Blanks.
5th inning. Tough inning for left-handed relievers. J.P. Hall's faced 5 batters, hasn't got it out yet. Bimo had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 straight guys reach.
Blanks left field line, but foul. Steve, right to. That's impressive. I love foul ball power.
Well, you would have loved Ian Kinsler then. No one could pull a ball as foul as he could and hit it as far foul as he did.
Blake's not in love with that last strike call. Yeah, that home run we saw earlier, or I guess the top of the inning by Howie Kendrick. Up to the top of the berm in center field. Eric Nadel texted me that is one of, if not the longest home run that has been hit in this ballpark.
I heard John Blake the other day, our PR director, talking about a ball that he thought was the hardest hit one ever hit here that went all the way to the top of the grass. And so if that was the previous longest one, that one had to be right there with it, because that went to the top of the grass in center field.
Right into the bushes,
yeah,
as we now know.
And so you could say the wind's blowing out, but that's not unusual. There's plenty of days where the wind blows out.
Blanks puts this one high in the air. Left field. Will the wind help this? Not quite enough. Caught by Heisey right at the fence for the first out of the inning, but it does get a run home as Leonys Martin able to tag up and score from third.
Yeah, and the runners on base both tagged up and took an extra base. Yeah, the wind definitely helped that ball. It got it an extra 40 or 50 feet to get it to go right to the wall. As high as he hit it, you would definitely know that the wind would help it. Fortunately for J.P. Howell, he hit it a little bit off the end of the bat, though, and it carried right to the base of the wall. The Rangers gave up 7. They've got several in already. Shot at some more right here.
Yeah, get 3 quick ones back, and now Ryan Ludwig, and he hits one sharply to third. Nice play by Hernandez. He goes across the diamond to get the second out of the inning. Kike Hernandez, pretty good reactions down there at third.
Well, the Dodgers have changed every player except one, and that's the catcher. Well, the catcher's going to, Yasmani Grandal is going to get a chance to play a little bit more than all the rest of the guys out there. Nice play, strong arm.
Grandal and his manager Don Mattingly out to the mound, and that'll be it for J.P. Howell. Hey, the Rangers getting right back in this one. 3 runs already in, 2 more in scoring position as the Dodgers go to the bullpen. And we'll tell you about the new pitcher in just a moment. Well, not just great on the field, good off the field as well. Adrian Beltre spending some time with the fans on his way out today. Great day today for Beltre. Rangers have climbed back in this thing after going to a 7-run top of the 5th. They have scored 3, have 2 in scoring position as hard-throwing right-hander Pedro Baez comes on to pitch for the Dodgers.
Pretty good numbers last season. 20 appearances, good ERA, pretty good control, not many walks. Gave up a few home runs, but a good opponent's batting average, only 188. Rangers trying to get one more key hit in this inning to tie this ball game, get a couple of more runs. They've had 3. Base hit here would make it 5.
Baez, a guy who spent 6 years as a third baseman and then converted to pitcher. Last year, those numbers you just saw, those were his major league debut. And that's a guy who throws hard. He lives around 95 to 97, can get it up to triple digits on the radar gun.
Well, Ryan took a good rip at that first pitch, 95 miles an hour. He wasn't taking a look at one. He was going up there swinging at it. Had a good swing at it.
Strike offering, and that one right in there for strike 2. 94 miles per hour on the radar gun here at Surprise Stadium. Two out, 2 men in scoring position, however, for the Rangers. And here it comes. That one lifted high in the air, center field, playable, however, for Carson, who puts a squeeze on it to win the inning. Rangers will have to settle for the 3 runs, leaving the tying runs in scoring position, with the bats rolling a bit in the 5th inning for the Rangers. Well, the wind has definitely picked up since this game started, and as you can see by some of the numbers, it's had an effect. 8-6 Dodgers as we move this one on to the 6th inning. Plenty of relaxation out there on the grass as we take a look at Nick Tepesch on to pitch for the Rangers in the 6th.
And this is kind of what Mike Maddox was talking about with a 6-man rotation in spring training, piggybacking starters. You had Yovani Gallardo start and Nick Tepesch, another starting candidate, pitching in the same game. You can do that early in the spring because the starting pitchers haven't been stretched out and they're pitching 2, 3, and 4 innings, so it's easy to pair 2 guys together. Eventually, in the next week or 10 days, you won't be able to do that because the starters will start throwing 5 or 6 innings and get up to 75 to 90 pitches.
Tepish a little low and in. It's 1-1 on Chris Heisey, his first at bat of the afternoon. Came into play a little left field last inning. And the hits have been hard to come by. This one lined into left field for a base hit. The Dodgers had their lead man on in the 6th inning.
Well, one thing Nick has been concentrating on is using his two-seam fastball, which sinks, keeping it down, getting it to sink around the bottom of the strike zone and getting ground balls. First outing he struggled a little bit. In his last outing he pitched much better and got a lot of ground balls. Now that type of pitcher on this kind of a day on this field may do exactly what he wants to do. Keep the ball down, make it sink, and get ground balls. And whether or not you have success pretty much depends on where they hit the ground balls and what chance the fielder has to get to them as fast as they get through the infield.
Tepish peeking over at Heisey at first base and gets Britton to foul off another one. The count 0-2. Buck Britton, his first at bat.
Boy,
look at that number
for you. Ooh, I would not have known that, and I watched all the games the last 2 years. Second most starts over the last 2 years.
Just misses ball 1 to Britton. Well, you know, the mention of Yu Darvish in that stat, I guess it bears explaining that today was the day Darvish underwent surgery. Dr. James Andrews performing what we now know as Tommy John surgery down in Pensacola, Florida. He's going to return to camp, I believe, tomorrow night. Was what John Daniels told us earlier in the week, was that he would be reevaluated in the morning, just make sure everything went okay, and then travel tomorrow night back to camp and join the team for the rest of spring training here in Arizona. Bouncer over first and into right field, a base hit for Britton. Heisey to third as the ball mishandled by Peguero. It doesn't result in any extra bases taken, so men on the corners with nobody out for the Dodgers.
Well, there's just another example of what we've been talking about all game long. Making your pitch, getting the result you want, and then watching it bounce into right field over the first baseman's head. There's just nothing you can do about that. We've seen a number of balls today hit into the dirt, hit the dirt before they get to the grass, and just then bounce all the way over the infielder's head into the outfield. There's not much you can do about that.
So Britton off first, Heisey off third, and Grandal takes strike 1. So Yasmani Grandal, the catcher, his 4th plate appearance of the day. Tepish gets him to roll one weakly along the first baseline, foul. Tepish, the 4th pitcher of the day for the Rangers. Giovanni Gallardo went 4 innings, gave up a run on 4 hits, struck out 3. Joe Beimel scuffled in the 5th inning, gave up 7 runs on 5 hits in a third of an inning of work, and then Ross Wolf got the final 2 outs. And now Tepish.
When Grandal started the game, he's still in the game as the catcher. He's a kid that, you go back a ways, was the 12th pick in the draft in 2010 by Cincinnati. Got traded to San Diego, traded again to the Dodgers. Still trying to establish himself as the kind of player Cincinnati envisioned when they made him the 12th pick in the draft.
I think the plan is for him to do the lion's share of the catching this year for the Dodgers. As a catcher, I would think, that would be a nice landing spot, right? As a catcher, and I don't know that I've ever given much thought before to how a catcher evaluates opportunities in an offseason, but I suspect the chance to go to a team like Los Angeles and work with the pitchers they have on that staff might be pretty attractive as Grandal strikes out swinging for the first out of the 6th inning.
Yeah, I would think it would be too. You're going to catch excellent pitchers. You're going to play on a pennant contender, and you're going to hit in a lineup where there's excellent hitters throughout the lineup, and you're not going to be counted on as one of the key guys offensively. So it's a comfortable place for him to land. He wasn't able to handle that good curveball from Nick Tepesch. Nick gets a big strikeout with men on 1st and 3rd.
I think that's some bite to it. And now, if he can just get a ground ball, he can go off the hook here in this 6th inning. Darwin Barney in his first plate appearance today. Came in last inning defensively at second base. Former Cub. Lofts it into right field. Figueroa is there, makes the catch. Throws it to the plate, and that one gets by Corcoran. Into second base is Zach Britton, but Heisey scores from 3rd to make it a 9-6 Dodgers lead.
As it turned out, I'm not sure if Kyle Blanks could have cut that off, but it turned out to be the kind of throw that if he did cut it off, he would have had an easy play at second base. Run probably would have scored anyway, just like it did, but you would have had an out to get out of the inning. It's deep enough to where you're not going to have much of a play at the plate.
So who makes that call? Somebody probably should have been yelling at Blanks. Right?
Yeah, I think someone's probably yelling at Blanks, but that's the kind of thing I think you need to know. You know where home plate is, and you know that throw's 10 feet offline. So even if you have a shot at the plate, the throw's going to be offline, and you're better off to cut it and get the guy going to second base. If you got a chance to get the runner at the plate, then you're going to let it go through. But that throw was far enough offline where it was going to be impossible for the catcher to get the ball and make a tag.
Tepesch buries that one at the plate, and Corcoran couldn't quite corral it. So Britton advances to 3rd base on the wild pitch. Didn't quite shift over far enough to get his full body in front of that one. Which always looks and sounds so easy from up here. Boy, just shift over another foot.
Yeah, that's one thing you find. It is a lot easier when you're sitting up here watching it than it is down on the field.
Man at 3rd, 2 out for Kike Hernandez. Yeah, that's a good breaking ball for a strike. 1-2 the count. Difference in this one was a 7-run 5th inning for the Dodgers. Ball hit hard, center field, coming on for it, though Richardson makes the play. And the inning is over. Not a routine play to say the least, but Tepesch gets out of trouble in the 6th. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning, Dodgers by 3. fans can get $17 Lexus Club Terrace tickets for the April 27th, 28th, and 29th games against the Mariners. Just log on to TexasRangers.com/specials and use the online code LUCKY. Oh, speaking of lucky.
Wow. A leprechaun.
Yeah, I'm guessing that he knew well before getting to the ballpark today that it was St. Patrick's Day. Hey, look, the Rangers have those green hats as well.
Yeah, he had to have an idea that if he came dressed like that with his beard colored, he had a good chance to get on TV too.
Yeah.
And he was right.
But you've got to be really confident that you have the right day. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's today. The heck with it. I'll just paint it green and let's
leave it there for
fingers.
a week. One of those days have to be St. Patty's Day.
That's a guy. He has the internet. He knew. I like that T-shirt right there. How about that? Well, Corbron, his first at bat of the day, stands up there on a 1-on-1 count. Switch hitter. That's from the left side here in the 6th inning. Now tomorrow it's an off day. Nobody do anything because that ball smashed down to first, cleanly down there, and Corcoran retired for out number 1. And I was wondering this morning, it did occur to me, is it a coincidence that the 18th is the Rangers' one off day while they're in Arizona, or is that particularly well planned, allowing everybody to go out and enjoy a St. Patrick's Day evening on the town with no repercussions the following Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's many players that know it's St. Patty's Day.
That one's not
definitely. There's a lot of Latin players that don't care that it's St. Patty's Day. That's for sure. I think what you do when you schedule your off day, you want to do it far enough into spring training that it's strategically placed, and right around the 18th is probably a great time for one. We were both down talking to Jeff Bannister the other day in his press briefing, and that's one thing he said.
And Peguero with a great swing on this ball. It carries over the wall. Solo home run for Peguero and makes it a 2-run game.
Yeah, Peguero's a guy that doesn't get a lot of talk in the quest to earn a spot in the outfield, but he's a kid that's had a lot of power in the minor leagues. He strikes out a little bit, but he's launched a lot of home runs in the minor leagues, and maybe he's one of those late developing power guys like Nelly Cruz. He put a charge in that one to left center field, just to make sure that the big league staff notice he's here too.
Pretty impressive, and he is. He hit the ball pretty well. Came in hitting .357 this spring. Good to flash a little power now as Thomas Field takes strike 1.
But Jeff was talking about how early the players get here. He said the earliest players arrive at 5 o'clock. And a good number are here by 6 o'clock. And he's exceptionally proud and pleased with the effort that they've put in. And he wants to make sure that they take an off day. They don't want anyone coming out taking a little batting practice. There might be some guys out here that need some medical treatment. But other than that, the clubhouse is closed. Wants the coaches to go out, enjoy a round of golf or whatever it is they want to do, spend time with their family, get away from the ball field, and take a day off physically and mentally.
Baez blows one by Thomas Field. Strikes him out for the second out of the inning. And now Richardson.
I think it's especially important for the regular position players who come to spring training in shape anyway and basically need 10 days or 2 weeks to get ready for a season, but they have to spread it out over 6 or 7 weeks. So keeping them mentally in the game, keeping them fresh, and making them peak right at the right time in the beginning of April is a difficult thing for a manager to do. We talked about that the other day too. It's why a lot of times a guy will come out after 5 or 6 innings, get some work in, but don't overdo it. So for those guys, a day off really is nice. A lot of guys have their families here, and be able to spend the day with your family, take them out for an outing, is a nice luxury to have during spring training. For guys that golf, it's a chance to go out and have a round of golf. And for some guys, it might just mean sleeping until 9 or 10 o'clock and waking up and doing nothing all day long too.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope, not at all. I do that about 100 days out of the year.
Antoine Richardson waiting on an 0-2. Fouls it off. Keeps the inning going. That one at 96 miles per hour. Here was his catch in the top half of the 6th inning.
Yeah, that looked like a base hit off the bat, but it carried all the way out to him.
Well, you don't take anything for granted either. Ball hit to the outfield and on any trajectory. There's no givens. Is it check swing? No check swing at all. He went, according to Anthony Johnson, the plate umpire, and Baez punches out 2 in his half of the 6th inning. That'll send us to the 7th at Surprise Stadium, where the Dodgers lead by 2. Well, another one of these days in the Valley of the Sun, which is to say, blue skies, a couple of clouds, and a lot of sunshine as we're playing baseball today at Surprise Field. Dave Raymond, Tom Grieve, and today was Giovanni Gallardo. A chance to get a look at him against a real good lineup by these Dodgers. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're going to leave with, is how did Gallardo look?
Well, we talked to Mike Maddox while he was out there, and he said there was one inning where it looked like he was rushing things a little bit, the inning where he gave up a couple of hits and a run, but he liked the way he finished. He liked the way he worked in his off-speed pitches, and I think at this time of year for a veteran pitcher, it's getting your work in. And I think as Mike surveyed his outing today, he was pleased with it, and if that's the case, then I would kind of echo that. I thought he looked good, got his 4 innings in. Now Nick Tepesh is trying to do the same thing. Nick will probably pitch 3 or 4 innings today.
We got to see Joey Gallo show off that arm a little bit.
Well, they say when Joey was in high school, he could tune it up 94, 95 miles an hour from the mound. And he had a little extra on that one. I've watched him take infield practice, and he's accurate. But that showed a little more velocity than he's shown taking infield practice. And I think he felt like he had a certain amount of time to make that play, and he needed all the arm strength he could muster. And he showed on that throw that he's got plenty of arm strength from third base. That was nice to see.
He's been getting a lot of playing time in this camp. A lot of at-bats. As Tepesh buries 1 for ball 1, 1-1 the count.
Well, Giovanni pitched the first 4, and it looks like there's a pretty good chance that Nick's going to pitch the last 4.
Bouncer foul down the third baseline for strike 2. Carson's first at bat today for the Dodgers. Came in a couple innings ago to play some center field. And he watches a beautiful breaking ball for strike 3.
That's a second strikeout that Nick has gotten with a good curveball. Working on throwing that two-seam fastball, but also working on his breaking balls. He's got a good cutter that he throws, kind of a slider or a cutter, whatever you want to call it, and a slower pitch, which was that last pitch, his curveball, that breaks a little bit more. He's showing a good repertoire of pitches so far.
This is off the plate for ball 1 to A.J. Ellis. Ellis, a designated hitter today, and by the looks of things, he's going to get as many at-bats as he can this afternoon. A lot of the starters, all the starters, gone for these two teams, but with the exception of A.J. Ellis. Doubled his last time up off Ross Wolf, and that tacked on a couple more runs to Joe Beimel's line. Tried that breaking ball again, but Ellis not taking the bait. Good backup catcher. We mentioned earlier that Clayton Kershaw is really this guy's ticket right now. He's Kershaw's personal catcher. That one high. Ellis draws the walk. Just like that, he is going to lead the game. So Ellis done, and I believe Seager coming on. This is one of the real exciting prospects in the Dodgers system. Corey Seager, Kyle Seager's brother.
I looked at his picture in the media guide. He looks exactly like his brother. His brother just signed a nice contract with Seattle, long multi-year contract. Terrific young third baseman for Seattle. And he says that his brother Corey's a better ball player than he is.
Well, I don't think you're going to get a lot of argument from a lot of folks.
Dodgers are definitely hoping that he's right.
Yeah, they're saying.
I think there's a third Seager brother that's either in the minor leagues or in college.
Bouncer up the middle, flagged behind second base by Elliott Johnson. Makes a real nice play to first to win the inning. No runs, no hits, a man left, and they will stand and stretch here at Surprise Stadium, where the Dodgers lead the Rangers 9-7.
Cotton Bowl trade.
Defensive struggle today, 9-7. Dodgers leading this one. Big 7-run 5th inning for them as we go to the home half of the 7th, and the Rangers sitting there 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Although at this point the lineups have turned over, and some of those guys have turned over. Those folks, a couple of them have turned over as well. Those who lay down on those blankets, and a little sun on one side, roll over and get it on the other. And Paco Rodriguez on to pitch for the Dodgers now.
Yeah, Paco got a taste of the big leagues last year. Did a pretty good job. 19 games, 14 innings. Another left-handed specialist.
No, it's not been a good day for left-handed specialists.
It has not been. He's looking at a 7-run inning right here. We've done 2 games and had 2 7-run innings. One by the Rangers, first inning the other day, and now the Dodgers popped 7 up in the 5th inning.
Paco, 6'3", 220 pounds, just 23 years old. Elliott Johnson made that nice play at shortstop a moment ago to send us to the bottom of the 7th. Take strike 1. Rodriguez played his college ball at Florida. It's a swing and a miss. Ups ahead 0-2. Out of high school, he was drafted in the 48th round, but then elected to go ahead and go to college, which worked out for him. Check swing? No, he did not go on the appeal. Ends up in 2012. Being selected in the 2nd round by the Dodgers. Johnson watches one of the dirt. It's 2-2. Johnson was one of those guys too, added to the roster very late in the game. Let's say late February, right? Maybe even early March. Leans backward away from that one, up and in. Payoff pitch, and that one swung on and lifted high in the air. Playable. Center fielder Carson, and that is out number 1.
Hi, Joey.
Joey Gallo now. He's the only one with multiple home runs this spring for the Rangers. A couple of home runs, and tied for the team high with 6 RBIs.
This would be a good test for Joey. Tough left-hander. Looks like he's a tough left-hander on left-hand hitters. You'd think he would be anyway with that slider he just threw.
One strike pitch. He's got him up there swinging, and kind of with a grimace after that one, as if he wasn't comfortable coming away from that swing. He doesn't look real comfortable up there against Paco Rodriguez at the moment. Fights that one off nicely.
Hi, Joe.
Well, a lot of hopes rest with this young man for the future of this Rangers franchise. Big time power the last couple of years in the minor leagues. 42 home runs a couple years ago. Last year threatened 40 home runs again. And this one sharply to short and snared by Guerrero for out number 2. Overall, is that it? You look at that positively in evaluating Gallo and that at bat against a tough left-hander?
Yeah, because he got behind in the count. He threw him 2 good sliders that he missed. They threw him a couple of fastballs. He fouled one off. And that last fastball, that was a sharp line, low line drive right at the shortstop. So when you're down, I think, to a left-hand hit pitcher you've never seen before as a young hitter, and you end up making solid contact from an 0-2 count, you have to rate that as a good solid at bat. Now, if there was a couple of men on base, I doubt he would have seen a fastball right there. But if Rodriguez's goal was to try to fool him with a fastball, that's not a real good goal, because if he gets that ball up in the air, that's up on the berm somewhere.
Dave Magadan, his job to work with these hitters and not just evaluate but teach.
I think the one thing, if you ask Dave about that at bat, he said he would probably say he likes the idea that he drove that ball to the left side of second base too, which means he probably stayed on that pitch, didn't pull off it, didn't try to pull the ball. He ended up 0 for 1 with that at bat, but a well hit ball.
One pitch to Blanks, and he turns it foul. The tendency to pull off a ball, right? A lot higher when it's right on right, left on left.
I think it's higher for a left-hand hitter against a left-hand pitcher for sure. It makes it, when you do that, it makes it tough to hit an outside pitch, which stands to reason if you're kind of pulling away from the plate, that you wouldn't be able to reach it and drive it as well. Now, plate coverage is not a problem for a guy like Joey Gallo, who's 6'5" with long arms like that. Covering the plate is not that big a deal, but without the proper hitting mechanics, it still makes it tough to make solid contact. But with good hitting mechanics and not pulling off the ball, it allows you to drive the ball like he just did to the shortstop, the way he hit that ball.
And going back to that, the shortstop was positioned in such a way that it was hit right at him, but if he were positioned where he is right now, that ball gets through.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of interesting. I want to ask you about this. The payoff pitch to Blanks. A bouncer to third. High throw all the way to the camera well. Blanks safe on the error.
It's almost a broken camera.
No kidding. So the Rangers have a 2-out base runner now. But back to that at bat by Gallo a moment ago. Look where the shortstop is up the middle.
Right at him. Yeah, and it was a fastball, probably down and slightly away from him, and he waited on it and drove it to the left center field side of the ballpark.
Not a dramatic shift, but that is a discernible shift on Gallo. As Ludwig fouls off the first pitch. Now, yesterday we were in Tempe, and the Angels put the traditional shift on, 3 infielders on the right side, and the outfielders were pretty much straight away, but only 1 infielder, the third baseman, all alone on the left side of the infield. And I thought it just struck me as curious. He came into the day with 20 spring training at bats. I don't know what kind of spray chart intelligence they would have from his double and triple A years, but you would see a shift of that severity on a young man about whom there's very little data. It just struck me as interesting. Ludwig sends one high in the air to center field, where Carson squeezes it for the final out of the inning. Get your thoughts on that when we come back. We go to the 8th today in Surprise, where the Rangers trail by a couple.
Rangers Baseball, LLC, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rangers Baseball, LLC.
A big league weekend is, well, this weekend. See the Rangers take on these Dodgers in San Antonio. Just go to the Alamo Dome for big league weekend this Friday and Saturday, March 20th and the 21st. I cannot confirm whether or not that gentleman will be there. But
he's celebrating something. It doesn't look like St. Patrick's Day, but
listen, he doesn't need a reason, and we don't even ask.
Actually, he's got that on so he doesn't have to wear sunscreen today. He's got his whole head covered.
8th inning here, 2-run game, Dodgers on top. But go to TexasRangers.com/exhibition for details and to buy tickets. Now the Dodgers, they had in their notes today some names of individuals who they plan on taking to San Antonio, and we're talking some pretty big names. He bounces it to third, backhand stop by Gallo, and he uses that rocket arm to get it over to first in time for out number 1. And we're talking about Yasiel Puig is going to be coming to San Antonio. Who else? I can't even find those notes now.
I thought Peterson was going. Maybe Adrian Gonzalez. I'm not sure if his name was one of them or not. But you know, both teams face a little bit of a dilemma when you put your team together to go to San Antonio, because you've got games back here and you've got games in San Antonio, and so you can't have all your regulars playing on one field, and you have to try to split it up. So you know, I would anticipate. I haven't seen the Rangers travel squad yet, but I would anticipate there'd be 3 or 4 regulars going to San Antonio, just like the Dodgers will probably do the same thing.
All right, here we go. So Eric Bedard and Zach Greinke are going to start the 2 games for the Dodgers. So certainly getting your money's worth there with Greinke, no doubt. Is that one hit foul by Britton and the count 1-1? But they also say that they're taking Yasmani Grandal, Adrian Gonzalez, Yasiel Puig, and Jock Peterson, among others. So the Dodgers going to bring some pretty good names to San Antonio for the big league weekend. And again, that's TexasRangers.com/exhibition to get those tickets. Check it out at the Alamo Dome this weekend. There you go. We'll put it in really big letters for you. Right there. 9-7 Dodgers. Britton taps that one foul. Count now 2-2. Britton came up with a 6th inning and singled. Takes a curveball and bounces it to the left side of the infield, where again Joey Gallo ranges over and makes the play. Yesterday in Tempe, Gallo showed range as he does. I mean, he's a really athletic kid, 6'5", big fella. But it was almost too much range after the game. In fact, Jeff Bannister was commenting to that effect, saying, you know, at times you don't have to go all the way to second base to get the ball. The shortstop can handle some of those.
Yeah, that's tough for a young third baseman, because I think as a third baseman you hear take whatever you can get because it'll be a shorter throw. But you're right. At some point in time, you go glove shortstop there, he can make a play too.
Zaraga bounces out on one pitch, and Tepish is perfect in the 8th. We go to the last of the 8th inning, and surprise, it's a 2-run game. 9-7. Dodgers lead as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning here at Surprise Stadium. These guys, hey, look, this game isn't over yet. I want to know how it finishes. I also want to figure out how to get in that backpack. There we go. Snack time. Well, a lot of offense today. The wind has been blowing out, but it's been just an explosion of runs at times off one guy. It was a 7-run 5th inning for the Dodgers today. That's where it all came from for them. And you can see the wind has played a role in this one. Well, the next man to face these conditions is hard-throwing right-hander David Aardsma.
Yeah, Aardsma, after some injury-plagued seasons, trying to kind of resurrect his career. Times in his big league career, he's done an excellent job as a closer. Trying to come back from injuries and see if he can't regain the form that he's shown throughout his big league career. Former closer at Rice University and a member of the Cape Cod Hall of Fame.
Ryan Rua swings through strike one. I didn't know he was a Cape Cod Hall of Famer.
Yep, he made the Cape Cod Hall of Fame.
He was an outstanding collegiate pitcher on a Rice team that was deep in pitching. As he races another one by Rua, the count 0-2. Like when they won that 2003 national championship, he was almost perfect, I think, in that postseason. Retired 15 of the 16 batters he faced in that College World Series. Giants drafted him and got to the big leagues the very next year in 04. With the Cubs for a spell. He'd been around a little bit. It was 0-2. Just a little bit low. Makes his offseason home now in Paradise Valley, Arizona. And I don't know exactly where that is, Tom. You probably do. Chopper toward third, and that one sneaks
That's
in.
the highest chopper of the day right there. That one hit once and bounced on the grass in left field. That was a good hard sinker. 91-mile-an-hour sinker, made the exact pitch he wanted, and Ryan got on top of it. Probably the best place to hit the ball today is right in front of home plate. Let that ball bounce.
1.5 feet in front of where you are.
During the season, for the most part, the way they water down in front of home plate, that ball probably hits and maybe takes an easy bounce as the third baseman comes in to catch it. Maybe bounces more than once.
Corcoran flares it out into left, and that one drops in.
Well, here's a rally. A chopper and a blooper.
Don't look now. Tying runs are on for the Rangers in the bottom of the 8th inning. And it brings up Peguero, who homered in his last at bat. So who knows? Chance to run in one here, and Bach is going to advance the runners anyway. The anatomy of a forgettable inning for David Aardsma.
Well, what you have to do as a pitcher right now is say, okay, I balked, move the runners ahead, but both guys are on base after I made good pitches. They didn't hit the ball hard, so I'm throwing the ball well. Take a deep breath and see if you can't recover and get out of the inning. From a Rangers standpoint, second and third, nobody out. 9-7 game. You're thinking, all right, we got to take advantage of this opportunity and tie the ball game.
Base hit here by Carlos. Might just even the score. He was looking to do a little more than that with that swing. 1-1 to count.
Aardsma had back-to-back years with Seattle where he saved 38 and 31 ball games. That opponent's batting average in both years under 200. So he was at the top of his game. That was back in 2009 and 2010. And unfortunately, since then, he's been pretty much off and on hurt.
And breaking ball, he gets Peguero to swing over the top of it, 1-2.
Well, I'm not sure if it was a splitter or a changeup, exactly what it was, but it sure dropped right at the end. Fastball, I think, used to be more mid-90ish. Right now, today anyway, it's 91 to 93, which is plenty of velocity. Get some good sinking action with it.
He runs that one a little high, 2-2. I mean, 92 is still enough, right?
Definitely.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
Peguero, a strong left-handed hitter. Watches one in the dirt. It's a full count.
The other thing you never know at this stage of spring training, I don't think you can look at a radar gun speed and say that's how fast this guy throws and what he'll be throwing when the season starts, because there's a lot of different factors involved. The one thing you hear a lot, there's the split finger grip that probably indicates that is what that changeup, how he grips it.
Lined in the center field, base hit. Rural scores. They'll throw up the stop sign for Corcoran at third base, but Carlos Peguero gets the Rangers to within a run.
The first two hits were softly hit. That was a rope. Peguero's got a home run and that line shot RBI single to center field. That was a splitter that stayed up in the strike zone. He had a nice swing at that. But you hear pitchers talk about a little bit of a dead arm feeling in the middle of spring training, where they're not hurt, they just don't feel as strong as they did at the beginning, or they'll feel at the end. And you have to factor in the adrenaline part of it. That may be a little different in spring training than it is during the season, what your workload is.
Back up the middle. Cleanly by Guerrero. The throw to first in time, but Corcoran comes in from third base to tie the game.
The other thing that can come into play with pitchers in spring training is when you talk about being a little bit tired, they do a lot more in spring training than they do during the regular season. They have pitchers fielding practice and fundamental drills all morning, and generally you don't do that during the regular season. Plus, as we've already said, you got a lot of guys getting here at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, working out all morning, and then coming out and playing a ball game. So it stands to reason you might not always have your peak velocity during the spring.
Tight there on Antoine Richardson, ball one. Hardsma checking in on Peguero and just misses.
And Nelly Cruz came over to the Rangers in a trade with Milwaukee, and he had hit a lot of home runs in the minor leagues with Milwaukee. He didn't make the ball club, and he was actually outrighted to the minor leagues. Every team in baseball had a crack if they wanted to claim him at the end of spring training, and no one did.
Bouncer second base. Picked up by Darwin Barney. 2 away. Potential go-ahead run now 90 feet away with 2 out.
And it's pretty obvious what Nelly did on the World Series teams for the Rangers, and the home runs and the batting in the middle of the lineup and carrying the team offensively at times. But he was subjected to the process where every team could have claimed him when the Rangers outrighted him. And I think Nelly was probably 27, maybe 28 years old at the time. So just because a guy hasn't blossomed into a big league star when he's 27, 28, 29 years old doesn't mean it can't happen. Well, Peguero's been around for a while, but he's got the tools. He's got the power. He's done it in the minor leagues. He's had a couple of great at-bats today, so you never know when a guy's going to blossom and be a surprise for you.
Elliott Johnson pops this one up. Short in the inning. First base side of the infield, and it's handled by the third baseman, Kike Hernandez. And it does end it. But the Rangers get those 2 runs back, and we go to the 9th, tied at 9. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Line score. Look at those numbers. 9, 12, 3. 9, 12, and 2. Pretty evenly done to this point. I don't know if this thing's going to win any beauty contests, but both teams getting some things done today as we go to the 9th inning. And Darwin Barney will lead things off for the Dodgers. Tepish pitched awfully well here in relief. In his 4th inning today. He starts Barney off with ball 1.
Yeah, I'd love to see Nick finish off this inning in fine fashion. He's pitched well for 3 innings. The first 2 guys got base hits against him, and they did score a run in the 6th, but other than a walk in the 7th, he's been very good in the 7th and 8th. Finished strong right here and lead with 4 solid innings. It would be 4 innings for Gallardo with 1 run, and hopefully 4 innings for Nick with 1 run.
Well, tight that time, 3-0. A couple of good strikeouts today. The curveball has been a very effective pitch for him. And it's 3-0. Too tall. So lead man on in the 9th inning. Darwin Barney heads down to first.
Well, as easy as it is for a hitter to find a hole here in Arizona during these games when you put the ball in play, it's probably very important for a pitcher not to walk guys. You don't want to put guys on. You know you're going to make some good pitches and give up some cheap hits. But I know Nick will be kicking himself for that leadoff walk here in the 9th inning.
See Adam Rosales holding Barney on at first base. Rosales just came in defensively here in the top of the 9th. Kike Hernandez with a bunt right back to the mound. Tepish thought about it, but he'll go to first with field covering and gets Hernandez. Sacrifice, though, a good one. The potential go-ahead run now in scoring position for Los Angeles.
And Nick might have had a chance, but it would have been a very close play. And as a pitcher, he bounced off the mound. He looked, felt like he was safer going to first. And the one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you get one out. What might have happened to him, he might have not had a grip on the ball. Let's see if we can see right here. Yeah, he fumbled the ball. I think he was ready to go to second, and he did have a shot. But when he couldn't get a good grip on the ball, he was forced to go to first.
Jensen fouls off strike 1. Darwin Barney scores easily. And Kyle Jensen puts the Dodgers in front 10-9 in the 9th inning. Should be a hit and an error, allowing Jensen to get to second.
Yeah, you see it all the time, that leadoff walk. And again, you don't want to walk anybody in a tie game as a leadoff hitter, especially down here where it's easy to get base hits. And when Nick looks at this outing, I think he's going to feel pretty good for the way he's throwing the ball, but he's going to say to himself that leadoff walk is really something I can't do in the 9th inning.
So with one out, a man at second base, Dodgers have retaken the lead. And Carson steps in and swings at the first pitch. Puts it up near first. Gonzalez is there. And they're 2 away.
The other thing Nick will probably say is if he got a handle on the ball on that bunt, he had a shot at second base. So he probably is not going to be happy with the leadoff walk. He'll probably feel like, if I fielded it cleanly, I might have had a shot at second base, which would have prevented the run. But in any event, spring training, you're getting your 4 innings, getting your pitch count up to where it needs to be. And I think he has to be pretty pleased with the way he's overall, with the way he's thrown the ball. That's the name of the game.
There's an out, 2 outs, and Seager shoots one foul to the left side for strike 1. We mentioned earlier Corey Seager, brother Kyle with the Mariners. But this young man, top prospect by many evaluations of the Dodgers system, and one of the top prospects really in the game. He's shown really good power in the minor leagues.
If you were to look at that view right there and go back maybe 2 or 3 years, you wouldn't be able to tell him apart from his brother, I don't think.
Swings in. Finds a soft one out of the right field for a base hit. They're heading to the plate. Throw caught off. And another one scores. 11-9. Los Angeles. Figueroa came up with it quickly, but the ball cut off, and I think wisely so. Not going to get that one at the plate.
He's got a similar body and a similar swing as his brother. Both left-hand hitters, both compact short swings. And so if the Dodger version of the Seager brothers is anything like Seattle's, they're going to be pretty happy with him at third base over the years. You already mentioned Peterson, their young center fielder, so they've got some young kids that they're injecting as time goes on into their lineup to try to stay young. They got a huge payroll and a lot of extra players. Some good ones, good young ones coming up as well.
Alex Guerrero with a base hit into left field, and there are 2 men on for the Dodgers in this 9th inning. And it's starting to look as if Tepish is running a bit out of gas here in his 4th inning of work.
Yeah, the last 2 were hit pretty well. Seager ripped that ball into right field, and Guerrero hit that ball pretty hard to left field. So, again, take a deep breath, make a good pitch, and get out of the inning.
Chris Heisey, the hitter now. 2 runs across in this 9th inning. Broke with a tie, giving the Dodgers the 11-9 lead. And Tepish delivers a curveball in there for strike 1.
Come on, what do you say now?
It's ended up being a fairly productive, busy day for Chris Heisey. That fastball missing just a little bit in.
Don Mattingly may have one of the better benches in baseball. We mentioned Justin Turner, Scott Van Slyke, 2 guys that get a lot of playing time but aren't regulars. And Heisey's another one. Heisey's been around for a while, a veteran player. But he's got some pretty good choices when he looks for extra.
That pitch got in on him. A pop short. And this one going to be handled by Antoine Richardson from center field. Inning over, but 2 big runs score for the Dodgers. Last chance for the Rangers. Coming up, they'll send their 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Rangers trailing by 2 as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Dodgers bring on a new left-hander, ostensibly their final pitcher. Don't go rolling down the hill. Daniel Colomb is the new pitcher. I think we might have lost their interest.
I think I might have a migraine headache if I went out and tried to do that.
Got to try that again. Go back to the top and try it again. Now Joey Gallo will lead things off in this 9th inning. And Colomb runs one way and almost got him.
Come on, Danny, come on.
Gallo had an at-bat previously in the 7th inning. Real good at-bat against left-hander Paco Rodriguez. And once you know it, he faces another left-hander in his second at-bat. The count 2-0.
Well, Nick got in trouble in the top of the 9th with a leadoff walk. And we'll see if the same thing happens to the Dodgers right here.
Colomb did a cup of coffee last year. 5 games with the Dodgers, almost hit Gallo again. It's 3-0.
Yeah, Nick was right around the plate, just missed a little bit. This guy hasn't been close for the first 3 pitches.
I'd be tempted to go out there and dust off the plate real quick, just make sure he knows where it is. 3-0, Gallo. Just about swung out of everything on that one.
Well, regular season, obviously, in this situation, you're going to play to get some base runners and figure out a way to get 2 runs. Spring training, it's about getting your at-bats in, and that was about seeing how far. If he had made contact, if that was a pitch right down the middle, that might have gone over the tent in right field.
There's ball 4. Well, need to see the team chiropractor into the game.
I think Joey said, I've hit some long ones, and I'm going to try to show you my longest one right here. I'd love to see on this day where that would have gone if he got it up in the air. Howie Kendrick hit one to the top of the berm. That one might have gone over the backdrop in center field. Howie's got some power, but not that kind of power.
Now, Rosales with his first at-bat of the day. And then to play defense at the top of the 9th inning, and he takes strike 1. Well, for all the power that Gallo has, and that part of his story, well told, well understood. Everybody knows he can hit the ball a mile. And he is a big, strong kid, but he can run.
Yeah, we saw him in the last game run the bases Showed really good speed for a big guy.
Not exactly in a spot here where you would consider doing that kind of thing, but he'll take the extra base out there. And we saw him steal against a left-hander in Scottsdale. Breaking ball in there for a strike to Rosales. 1-2 the count. Colon, not a big guy, 5'10", 185 pounds.
Sit down.
Left-hander delivers. Wallace tried to hold up and appeal it, and apparently he did. 2-2. Rosales, a good veteran utility player, can play all over the diamond.
Sit down.
Third could be 2. Second row. In and out of the hands of Darwin Barney, and everybody is safe.
Yeah, getting ready to say that there's one of the few balls that didn't bounce over an infielder's head. He had a play on it, and then they couldn't make a play on it. Well, if you're the second baseman, you're hoping for the ball about chest high, which gives you the best chance to catch it and turn a double play. You're not, although you have to be ready for anything, really anticipating on a short throw like this, the ball being down around your ankles, and I think that's what threw Barney off. Barney's a sure-handed defensive guy. He just got handcuffed by a bad throw. He'll probably get an error because it didn't bounce, but I think the accuracy was up to the third baseman right there.
Barney charged with the error. It's now Gallo at second, Rosales at first. The tying runs are on for Ryan Ludwig. It's 2-0.
As a hitter, I think what you have to guard against is, you know the score, and you say to yourself, all I got to do is hit it solid and get it up in the air, and this game's over. So I think you have to avoid thinking about a home run and having your normal approach, which is hit a solid ball back through the middle and see what happens from there. Generally, hitters can get in trouble if you go up there thinking, I can hit a home run right here. You don't take your good swing.
Yeah, like.
Got a good cut there.
Yep.
2-0. Anthony Johnson, plate umpire. Caught a little shrapnel on that one. Dodgers got 2 in the top of the 9th to take the lead. Well, first 2 men on in the bottom of the 9th for the Rangers. 2-1 to Ludwig, and that ball is smoked. Well hit left center field, but caught by Carson. And the runners have to hold.
Yeah, Ryan must not have hit that on the good part of the bat, because almost every ball that we've seen today has really carried. That one didn't really carry. And it looked like he might have got it toward the end of the bat. In any event, it didn't jump off his bat. And he's got the kind of power that if he hit it solidly, I don't think the center fielder would have come sideways. He'd been going back and watching it carry off the wall and going over the wall.
Well, Ryan Rua takes a breaking ball for ball 1.
And late in the game right now, the wind's not blowing quite the same way as it was earlier in the game. That might have had a little bit of effect on it.
There's a strike, 1-1 the count. You see those pennants up there in center field. Has calmed down a little bit. 1-1. Good fastball for a strike. Well, Ruiz had a decent day today. Singled in the 8th inning, scored a run. I mentioned earlier he homered yesterday in Tempe in the late innings. One big swing here, and he sends his team home a winner as this one is fouled over to the right side and not playable. It's 1-2. Well, we tend to put a lot of emphasis on the battles during spring training and who's going to emerge as the left fielder. Could be Rua, could be Smolinski, could be a handful of others. The reality is it's not going to be one guy playing all 162 out there this year. Rua, one of those guys, I think they feel like at some point, if it's not opening day, if it is opening day, he's probably going to find some time out there eventually. Decision that man, Jeff Bannister, and his staff will have to make some decisions here in a couple of weeks. A little bit outside, and it's a full count now on Rua. Three-two, and that one off the hands, popped up on the infield. Should be an infield fly, and it is. Not by Barney, 2 away. Last chance now for the Rangers. Carlos Corcoran, switch hitter, took over to the right side here against left-hander Daniel Colon. Corcoran singled his last time up. Eventually came in to score on a ground out by Thomas Field. Backup catcher. It's 1-1.
If he does get on base, it looks like Jorge Alfaro is on deck to pinch hit for Carlos Peguero, who's had a pretty good day. Home run and a hard RBI single.
2-1 now.
Here's one of the Rangers' best young prospects, catcher Jorge Alfaro, right-hand hitter. Peguero's a left-hand hitter.
Yeah, catcher, but no much more for his bat. And it will be kind of exciting to get him up there in that spot. Gallows opened the inning with a walk. Rosales reached on an error. Ludwig flied out to center field, and then the pop-up by Rua. And just like that, a full count now to Corcoran. So one pitch away from getting Alfaro to the plate. And the base is loaded. Runners will be off on the pitch. There's Gallo. Very good speed. Rosales at first. And there they go. And there's ball 4, so they're loaded up. Oh, left-handed relievers today. The theme continues.
27 hits and 7 errors.
Don Mattingly up out of the dugout to go have a word with him.
9 walks for the Dodgers today.
Oh, boy.
Let's see, for the Rangers had at least 5 walks. So 14 walks, 7 errors, and 27 hits.
Don Mattingly doesn't want this one to slip away. He's taking the ball. Bases loaded. And he's got to get a righty in there. Get this final out. 11-9 Dodgers. We'll tell you about the new pitcher in just a moment. Well, there you go. The stage is set. Out of the ninth inning, bases loaded. Rangers down by 2. And Don Mattingly has made a pitching change. He brings in a kid out of minor league camp, Ramon Troncoso, to try and put the final nail in the coffin of this one. But not so fast, my friends. The Rangers have already gone to the bench. And Alfaro up there to hit with the bases loaded. Righty on righty. And there's strike 1. No? 21 years old. Alfaro.
The Dodgers have used 25 players today. The Rangers have used around 21 players. So there's been a lot of guys see action in this one.
Bouncer up the middle, and that one gets through. Base hit. Gallo scores. Here's Rosales. It's tied up. And Jorge Alfaro with a 2-out single into center field makes it a brand new ball game.
I think we've seen that same hit about 5 times today. A chopper over the pitcher's mound that just bounces into center field. But from the Dodgers standpoint, there was a leadoff walk this inning, just like there was in the top of the 9th inning by the Rangers, and then a costly error. You're looking at some unearned runs. The Rangers still have a chance with Thomas Field at the plate to go ahead in the winning run. I don't think the Rangers are going to play another inning, so this will probably end up in a tie unless there's been someone warmed up in the bullpen and he's just not throwing right now. The Dodgers coming into this game they're 8-2-4. They've had 4 games end in ties. The Rangers only 1. But it's commonplace in spring training when you use all these players and play 3.5 hours and run out of pitchers that you just say, okay, fans, you've seen a lot of baseball, but you're not going to see an outcome today.
1-1 now to Field.
The fans who come to spring training games, they understand that. That's the way it's always been in spring training. Games can end in a tie.
Josh Morgan has come in to run at second base for Corcoran. Alfaro at first. The 1-1 to Field. Breaks right in there for a strike. Field brought home the tying run last inning on a ground out to short. This time, though, he's going to have to do it with a safety. It's a 1-2 pitch, and that's a ground ball to shortstop. They'll flip it a short way to second to end the ball game in an 11-11 tie. Mattingly brought in his man, and eventually he got the out, but not before Jorge Alfaro tied it on the base hit up the middle. And now the two skippers get together and say, good enough. I got out of this one.
It wasn't pretty, but it's over.
Oh, man. Well, we did get a chance to see a lot in this one today, Tom, but I think maybe the chief concerns coming in, or the highlights anyway, we see Giovanni Gallardo and Nick Tepesch, who both really did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think the key is in this kind of a game, you want your starters to get their work in. Both guys got their work in. Nick ended up giving up some runs in his last inning, but he threw the ball well. And I think he's pleased with the way he threw the ball. It was a tough day to pitch today. Tough day to play defense, tough day to pitch. But it's over. The guys got their work in. Some of the young players got a chance to play. All in all, it's 11-11. It's over.
Hey,
I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, when you get right down to it,
it was not an artistic success.
No, it was not. No kind of Picasso, but maybe the biggest thing, nobody gets hurt.
No one got hurt that we know of. That's for sure. So that's a good thing.
So everybody walks away from this one feeling, okay. Again, maybe the stories were on the pitching side for the Rangers. Joe Beimel struggled again, though, and that's got to be of some concern, figuring out that left-handed reliever spot.
Yeah, and again, you'd love to have a left-hander. The Rangers sometimes have had 3 left-handers out in the bullpen. The key is to have guys out in the bullpen who can come into the game and get left-hand hitters out, whether it's a left-hander or a right-hander. So I don't think that Jeff Bannister will be tied into a certain amount of left-handed relievers. He's going to evaluate the pitchers that are here in camp, make his best decision on who the guys are that can get the job done once the season starts, whether they're left-handed or right-handed. But again, anyone can have a bad day. Today there was several pitchers whose numbers won't look good, but there's tomorrow and plenty of time to bounce back.
Indeed. So an 11-11 final today. For Tom Grieve and our entire crew, this is Dave Raymond saying so long from Surprise, Arizona. Join us Friday, 7 o'clock, right here on TXA 21, when the Rangers and Dodgers begin a 2-game series from the Alamodome in San Antonio. Today's game was produced and directed by Kurt Dykert. Our associate producer is Eric Josephson. Thanks for watching the Texas Rangers on TXA 21.